What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
5 Saw. Chapter 81. The so-called strong ones are meant to be eliminated. What are the chances of winning? Chen held the tea in her hand and took a sip. Speaking of Aizen, Sosuke's chances of winning are actually not low. Although in the plot, Ichigo Nozuki defeated Aizen Sosuke. There may be several reasons for this outcome. One is plot killing. The second is that Aizen Sosuke also hopes in his heart that he has someone who can defeat him, because Kurosaki Ichigo felt deep loneliness in Aizen Sosuke's sword, and Hogyoku also understood Aizen Sosuke's thoughts, so he did not let him. He continued to evolve, and with the help of Urahara Kazuki, he successfully restrained Aizen Sosuke, but even if they were combined, they could not kill Aizen Sosuke after fusion with Hogyoku. Aizen Sosuke, who has merged with the complete Hogyoku, can be said to have evolved to another level. No matter what injury he has, he can be easily cured by Hogyoku. It can be said that he is almost immortal and can only be sealed in prison. If we look at the reality at this moment, Kurosaki Ichigo's growth path has been somewhat affected by himself. However, Kurosaki Ichigo himself has extremely strong power, but he has never realized it. If he can figure out his life experience, it will not be difficult to unleash the power of Mutsuki Ichigo. I'll give you a brief analysis. Your purpose is to make Karakura Town the key to the Soul King's palace. Then kill the Spirit King's palace. This behavior will definitely be stopped by Gote 13. And some people in Karakura Town. Gote 13, you need to focus on solving Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni, Unohana Retsu, Hieraku Shunsui, Zaraki Kenpachi, Kuritsuchi Mayuri, Jashiro Yukataki. Karakura Town needs to solve Kurosaki Ichigo, Kurosaki Isshin, Ishida Ryu, Ishida Ryujin, Urahara Kazuki, Tessai Tsukubishi, Shihuin Yoruichi, Hirako Shinji. If you count these numbers, you will have a lot of resistance to using Karakura Town to make the king key. Aizen Sosuke heard so many names, but there was no fluctuation. He said calmly, I have countless ways to know the strength of these people, and there are countless ways to deal with them. The only ones I am not sure about are Kurosaki Ichigo and you. Quote. Chen smiled and said, you also missed one person, Urahara Cgad Kazuki. Although you successfully calculated him 100 years ago, you may not be able to defeat him next time. If you underestimate him too much, maybe it will be one of your downfalls. Aizen Sosuke nodded. You reminded me of this, but what makes me curious is what method is Urahara Kazuki going to use to defeat me who has merged with Hogyoku? At this moment, Aizen Sosuke carried a strong sense of confidence, as if facing the absolute strength of Hogyoku, no one could stop him. Chen picked up the tea in her hand. Although her voice was not loud, her tone seemed to have a chilling edge. Also, I don't recommend you to make the king key for Karakura Town. After all, if you really choose to do this, I will stop you even if everyone else fails. Aizen Sosuke smiled. That's exactly what I expected. Chen had an incomprehensible smile on his face. Why not? I will seal you right now. There seemed to be an invisible edge between the two of them, as if they were going to fight in the next moment. However, at this moment, Aizen Sosuke seemed to sense something. It seemed that someone went to the Great Spirit Book corridor to investigate Chen. It was interesting. Room 46. Tsunayashiro Kitsune entered here. I felt relieved when I saw that all the elders in room 46 were still alive and didn't smell any special smell. Then he was going to enter the Great Spirit Book corridor to check Chen's information. The reason why people in the Tsunayashiro family were able to use Yanluo Jingdian to copy everyone's Zanpakuto abilities is probably because they learned about their Zanpakuto's Shikai and Bankai in advance through the Great Spirit Book corridor. Otherwise, facing unknown things, even if Yanluo Jingdian can copy them, I'm afraid it's not that easy. Aizen Sosuke looked at the night view of the mountains outside and the lights of the Kido camp not far away. These are the corrupt nobles. If a Shinigami who is too strong appears, they will find a way to kill him. If a Shinigami who is too weak appears, Soul Society is easy to lose. Especially in the eyes of the Tsunayashiro family, if someone is too strong, it is difficult not to doubt whether this commoner will rebel against Soul Society and cause Soul Society to fall into crisis, so they will strike first and not kill the opponent. From their point of view, their actions maintain the stability of Soul Society's rule. But from our point of view, these nobles are a group of stupid people. It is precisely because I knew this from the beginning that I did not reveal my strength. Otherwise, I am afraid that I will also become the target of the Tsunayashiro family's deliberate efforts to solve it. In the past, Kuchiki Hibiki was uprooted by the nobles because his Zanpakuto ability was too fearsome. The old guy Kuchiki Ginling said he wanted to save people, but in the end he was always under the constraints of rules, can't save people at all. Quote. Although it is not difficult for me to kill everyone in the Tsunayashiro family. Chen thought for a moment. The Tsunayashiro family is indeed a very cautious family. From the beginning, he was afraid that the Spirit King would rebel, so he cut off his hands and chopped his internal organs, so that the Spirit Lord could only feel at ease in a state of non-death. In this case, the Spirit King would not be able to overthrow the rule of the 5 nobles. From their point of view, their actions have made their rule more stable. But for Yhwach, it was an endless shame to his father. In the eyes of the Tsunayashiro family, having great power is the original sin. It is an existence that must be eliminated. If it weren't for the Soul King's role in stabilizing the three realms, he might have been killed by members of the Tsunayashiro family long ago. Even if the powerful Shinigami said that he had no intention of rebellion, the Tsunayashiro family would never believe it. For them, they are not afraid of 10,000, but just in case. Shinigami's life is not valuable to them, just kill them. Then Chen asked calmly. In that case, your Kyoka Suigetsu ability has been known to the Tsunayashiro family for a long time. After all, Enra Kadenori has copied Kyoka Suigetsu. Then, have they realized that they are already in a trap? Chapter 82 Zanpakuto Who Controls Others, The Terrifying Chen. Aizen Sosuke analyzed. Although the Great Soul Scroll Corridor does record information about Kyoka Suigetsu, I can let people in the Tsunayashiro family see a Great Soul Scroll Corridor in Kyoka Suigetsu. In other words, they can't see the information I don't want them to see. To this day, no one in the Tsunayashiro family has discovered my true ability, Zanpakuto. This is partly because of this. On the other hand, it's because I rarely use Kyoka Suigetsu's true hypnosis ability. Chen took a sip of tea and saw that everything was according to your plan. However, my plan will start soon. I will look forward to the day when I fight you, and from now on, we may be enemies. Aizen Sosuke drank the tea in his hand and took a deep look at Chen. Get up and leave. Great Spirit Book Corridor. Tsunayashiro Hakusho walked on the corridor, a slight blue light illuminated his body. Only then did he slightly see his appearance hidden in the darkness. I saw that he looked like an old man who had lived for an unknown age. His body was extremely skinny, and he looked completely skinny. You could clearly see his ribs, as if he would die if he was lightly tapped. A pair of dark eyes were sunken deeply into the eye sockets, like two flames that choose to devour others. He had a huge forehead, a high forehead, and his waist was bent at almost 90 degrees, with his hands supporting each other. He carries a cane, which is also his Zanpakuto. Shubin is even more skinny, and his slight smile reveals a few yellow teeth. This smile makes people shudder. At this moment, I entered the Great Spirit Book Corridor to investigate the news about Chen. As a result, as he looked at it, two gleams full of dangerous meaning appeared in his originally clear old eyes. Even his hands were shaking. It seemed as if he had seen something extremely terrifying. Then he immediately came out of room 46 without stopping. And summoned the secret guards and mobilized the power of the Tsunayashiro family. Sui Feng, as the commander of the secret guard, knelt in front of Tsunayashiro Hakusho and listened to the order. Tsunayashiro Hakusho said coldly, Big Keto Chief Chen intends to rebel against Soul Society. Arrest him and put him in the Daojenshin underground prison. What? Sui Feng's face showed surprise. Do you have any doubts? There was a hint of condescending coldness in Tsunayashiro Hakusho's eyes. It seemed that as long as Sui Feng said no, her position as commander of the criminal army would be replaced. Sui Feng lowered her head. All the previous obedience orders had been engraved in her heart and said, no. However, she still had many doubts in her heart. Although she had only met Chen for a short time, she still felt that it was impossible for Chen to rebel against Soul Society. Although that guy was a bit frivolous and disrespectful to himself as the commander of the criminal army, he seemed to have nothing bad except for being a little lecherous. However, my understanding of Chen is only casual. Maybe I don't know his true face. What must be clarified now is, what happened? Now. In Chen's mansion. After Aizen Sosuke left, Matsumoto Rangaku walked out of the room. At this moment, with her mature and charming body, she gently sat next to Chen. You seem to have a lot of questions to ask. No. Matsumoto Rangaku shook his head. If those things are what I should know, then you will naturally tell me. If those things are not what I should know, I shouldn't ask. Quote. Chen smiled and hugged Matsumoto Rangaku's slender waist. He obviously had an amazing figure, but his slender waist was extremely slender. Matsumoto Rangaku leaned gently on Chen's arms, and could still hear his strong heartbeat, as if his own heartbeat was being captured as well. You just need to know that your man is a strong man, right from the start. Matsumoto Rangaku blinked his eyes with long eyelashes, and said silently, my. Man. I felt extremely happy and couldn't help but open my mouth and gently lick the corner of Chen's mouth. It feels numb, like being drunk. Chen's heart couldn't help but ignite a fire. He hugged Matsumoto Rangaku's slim waist and tasted her delicious taste. Quote. Matsumoto Rangaku pushed Chen with some resistance at first, slapping Chen's shoulders, but he soon became intoxicated, and his body seemed to have lost its strength and leaned softly against Chen's body, letting him do whatever he wanted. However, at this moment, Chen let go of Matsumoto Rangaku. Matsumoto Rangaku's face was still deeply red. He felt that his head was dizzy and he stopped thinking. It's strange, why is he drunk even though he didn't drink alcohol? This was the first time she had done this kind of thing, and it didn't feel bad. On the contrary, there was a kind of infatuation that made people feel delicious. Su Chen picked up the crook of her legs and hugged Matsumoto Rangaku. Let's sleep together. Matsumoto Rangaku nodded shyly in Su Chen's arms. The next day, Matsumoto Rangaku woke up under the sun. He touched his red and swollen lips, and there was still a pain that had not disappeared. Last night, Su Chen was like a hungry wolf, kissing her again and again, and her lips were swollen from his kisses. Really, a happy yet distressed smile appeared on the corner of Matsumoto Rangaku's mouth. But my heart is warm. It was the first time I felt this stable. It's like having a home. I was about to continue sleeping for a while when I smelled the scent of Su Chen left by him under the quilt, but I didn't expect that there were several Reiatsu coming from outside, and there seemed to be the sound of metal friction of a sword being drawn. 0. Matsumoto Rangaku was suddenly startled. What happened? She got up, got dressed, and went out to take a look. I saw it in the open space not far away. At Su Chen's feet lay dozens of members of the Kido clan. All of them died of stab wounds, and they seemed to have been killed by their own Zanpakuto, with their blood flowing all over the floor. Looking at the hell-like scene, Su Chen had just put her sword away. Was it Su Chen who killed these Kido people? No. That's impossible. Matsumoto Rangaku simply didn't believe the facts he was seeing. However, at this time some members of the Kido clan and the secret guards led by Sui Feng arrived. As soon as several members of the Kido crowd saw this scene, they immediately started throwing dirty water. Chief Kido, what are you doing? You killed your companions. Are you planning to rebel against Soul Society? I didn't expect you to be such a big Kido. You know, you are dissatisfied with the nobles because you were a commoner, right? Matsumoto Rangaku immediately explained. That's not the case. There must be a hidden secret. Everyone must believe it. However, at this moment, one of them seemed not to be dead yet, struggling and saying, it was Su Chen who killed us. In order to show off his power, he used the ability to confuse Zanpakuto, turning our Zanpakuto against ourselves. You should know that the Zanpakuto in his hand can be used with other people's Shikai. And Muramasa's ability is to let our Zanpakuto kill us as masters. Chapter 83 The Mastermind Hiding Behind the Scenes. Does Rukia also like Su Chen? What? Matsumoto Rangaku didn't expect that there was such a statement. No. That's not the case. These people obviously committed suicide and then put the sewage on Su Chen's body. Immediately, Shinigami said. Then did you see them committing suicide with your own eyes? Matsumoto Rangaku was stunned, and indeed he didn't see what just happened. Humph, since you haven't seen anything, of course what you said can't be counted. Come here, take down the great Kido leader. She took 6 steps to knock down the person they were talking to with a punch, and said coldly, do you know what you are talking about? He is a big Kido commander. How can you clamor to take down the commander like this? The folding fan in Shishang Wabu's hand was no longer fanning. He understood that it was useless to say anything now. I was afraid that there were lackeys of the nobles among the Kido people, and those people were working for the nobles. Because of the sewage on Kido's body, I'm afraid it's not that cleansing. Even when surrounded by everyone, 720, Su Chen's eyes were still indifferent. It seems that many people in the Kido crowd are dogs raised by nobles. Some people in the Kido crowd immediately became angry. Su Chen, do you know what you are talking about? Su Chen pulled out the knife in his hand and smiled softly. There are a few dogs barking all the time, which is very annoying. The next moment, Su Chen appeared in front of the loudest person. One knife comes out. Puff. Blood splattered out. One of the man's arms flew to the ground. Ah! He screamed and fell to his knees, holding the wound on his arm, and saw that the blood from the wound could not stop flowing. Tell me, who ordered you? Su Chen said calmly. Quote. The next moment, the man's other arm was also cut off. There was a pop and blood spurted out. Ah. The man seemed to faint from the pain, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. However, Su Chen stretched out his hand, and Kaido's light emitted. The 2 hands he had just lost actually grew back. Just breathed a sigh of relief. However, the next moment, his left hand was cut off again. Looking at his 3 severed hands in front of him, his heart seemed to be trembling. Then I heard Su Chen's voice. Do you know, I can make you feel the pain of a broken hand all the time, so that you can't live or die. The next moment, the man's right hand was also cut off. He fell into a coma under the endless pain and screams. However, another burst of Kaido's light healed his broken hands. Looking at the hands that have grown back, I can't even pass out. The man kneeling on the ground was really scared. Quote. However, just after saying a few words, his head fell from the air. I saw a secret guard jumping out and cutting off the man's head with a knife. The secret guard said coldly, Legion Commander, why are you still hesitating? The scene of this man killing his companions has already been seen before our eyes. Why haven't we arrested him yet? Do you also want to disobey me? Sui Feng gritted his teeth and said word by word, arrest Su Chen. Sha Shang Lubu looked at his own Sha Shang Wubu. Brother, the elder Kido must have been wronged. We must find a way to save him. She took 5 steps forward and concentrated. Of course I know. But our strength is really insufficient. Damn it. The burly Sheshang Lubu punched the wall. At the same time, all the Kido members who had just slandered Su Chen came to a small forest. Tsunayashiro-sama, we have done what you said, and you promised us that when the things are done, you will give us endless glory and wealth. Standing in front of the dozen Kido members was none other than Tsunayashiro Kitsune. Although he has a skinny figure, his eyes shine like a lion majesty. Ah, of course I will give you glory and wealth. It's just the next life. Kill them. The next moment, a large number of secret guards jumped out from the shadows and killed the members of the Kido clan. Tsunayashiro Hakusho looked at this scene coldly, without any fluctuation in his eyes. Go and find some civilian women in Rukongai. Let's pretend that these people intended to commit violence against civilian women. After being discovered by the secret guards, they committed suicide out of fear of crime. Those civilian women couldn't bear the humiliation and subsequently committed suicide. Yes, the secret guards responded. She went up 5 steps and thought for a moment, hurry up and call the members of the Kido crowd who just spoke, and ask what the situation is. Yes, he took 6 steps to do it immediately. Not long after he came back 6 steps away, he said with a gloomy face, Brother, those people are dead, and there are several civilian women in the room whose clothes were torn to pieces. The secret guards are also dead. The explanation given is, a member of the Kido community committed violence against a civilian woman and committed suicide out of fear of crime. He took 5 steps forward and repeated it, wandering around the room. Vaguely, 5 steps up the road, it felt like there was a huge black hand behind everything, shrouding the Kido crowd. Nothing escaped the capture of that black hand. Why did it happen that those who slandered the elder Kido were the ones who died? Doesn't this just prove that there is something wrong with those people's words, so that people will die without any proof? Who are the people behind them? Who wants to arrest the big Kido leader? Division 13. When Rukia Kuchiki was about to go to the real world to perform her mission, Matsumoto Rangaku unexpectedly ran over to find her. Matsumoto, what are you so worried about? Rukia Kuchiki used to be very calm when she saw Matsumoto Rangaku. Unexpectedly, this time Matsumoto Rangaku's head was covered with dust, and even the 2 white plumps on his chest were stained with sweat. He looked great. Kuchiki, Su Chen was taken away by the criminal army. What? Rukia Kuchiki's pupils shrank, and her heart was shocked for a moment. She couldn't help but grabbed Matsumoto Rangaku's arm, which even hurt Matsumoto Rangaku. What happened? Heavy. After listening to Matsumoto Rangaku's explanation, Rukia Kuchiki rushed out immediately. I'm going to find the elders of the Kuchiki family to see if I can use the privileges of the nobility to rescue Su Chen. Matsumoto Rangaku nodded. Please. Seeing Rukia Kuchiki leaving in a hurry, Matsumoto Rangaku breathed a sigh of relief. But then she discovered a detail. It seemed that Rukia Kuchiki valued Su Chen too much, and her arm still ached. When she heard that Su Chen was arrested, Rukia Kuchiki was obviously too excited and nervous, and she didn't seem like an ordinary friend. Moreover, Rukia Kuchiki originally hated the privilege of the nobility. She was born as a commoner and did not like to use this kind of thing. It was precisely because she used the privileges of a noble to graduate directly and join the 13th Division without any assessment that she was treated coldly by other team members. But this time, Rukia Kuchiki did not hesitate to use the greatest power she could. This is beyond just friends. Could it be that Kuchiki also likes Su Chen? Seeing Rukia Kuchiki hurriedly running to find a way to save Su Chen, Matsumoto Rangaku felt half happy and half resentful. Fortunately, Su Chen is so powerful. He can't handle it alone. It should be much better if Kuchiki is with him. The person complaining is Su Chen, a playboy, who has to kiss her 10 times, no, 100 times before she can forgive him. Chapter 84. Killing Elder Tsunayashiro instantly, blood splattered 3 feet. Rukia Kuchiki's staggering Shunpo arrived at Kuchiki's house. At this moment, there was a look of panic on her face, which was rare for Rukia Kuchiki. In front of the elder's room, Rukia Kuchiki opened the door, bowed her head and begged, Please elders, please save one person. The elders all turned their backs to Rukia Kuchiki and did not even look back at her. Rukia Kuchiki gritted her teeth, her knees softened, and she slowly knelt down, clenching her fists, Elders, please save Su Chen. No elder spoke, Rukia Kuchiki just knelt quietly. It seemed that no one responded, and she was willing to stay on her knees like this for a long time. The sun shines on her dark hair, and there seems to be a slight reflection. After a long silence, a person in the elders' room said, Rukia, after so many years, hasn't the elite education of the nobles taught you? Are you still so reckless and without rules? There is a difference between nobles and commoners. For a civilian, 26 is not worth it. You may not know that the reason why you were able to enter Kuchiki's house was all because of your elder brother's plea. Rukia Kuchiki gradually came to understand that to the elders of the Kuchiki family, she was just a marginalized person who came in aggrieved and begged for mercy, let alone do anything against the rules for her sake. Rukia Kuchiki gritted her teeth, stood up, and walked toward the door without saying a word. Her eyes seemed to be on fire. If the Kuchiki family is unwilling to take action, then he will rely on the knife in his hand to solve everything. Junyang Underground Prison. Sui Feng brought Su Chen all the way here. After seeing Su Chen hand over the 3 knives without resistance and enter the prison, Sui Feng said to his subordinate secret guards, "You can leave." After all the subordinates left, Sui Feng stayed behind. The neck under the light sunshine and dust was under the light sunshine and dust. He turned around and said to Su Chen, "Those people are. Did you kill him?" Su Chen looked at it but smiled and said jokingly, "What? If not, will you still save me? How come you are still thinking about joking at this time?" Sui Feng said with some complaints. Does Su Chen understand her current situation? You are in jail now and may be tried at any time. Su Chen still said calmly, "So what?" Sui Feng was stunned. So what? It seems that Su Chen has a strong self-confidence. Even if he falls into hell, he still has the confidence to fight from hell to the top of the sky. Even in prison, nothing can trap him. Su Chen raised his eyes and glanced at Sui Feng, and said, "As a secret guard, your duty is to clean up the traitors for Soul Society. For people like me, you should be the target of arrest. Now you are actually thinking save me, maybe you like me, right?" Sui Feng was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He immediately became furious and retorted, "Who likes you? Quote. I wish I could kill you, this bastard. Humph, let you fend for yourself here." Sui Feng closed the prison door, turned and left. But when he left, his footsteps were particularly loud, as if he was angry with someone. Su Chen smiled. She didn't expect that Sui Feng, who looked so cold on the outside, would actually care about others one day. As for Su Chen's own Zanpakuto, it has already been absorbed into his inner world. This inner world is also Su Chen's application of the previous infinite world. Since it can draw people into their inner world, it is natural that they can also bring objects into their possessions. This is equivalent to Su Chen having a portable space. The 3 swords taken away by the secret guards only used the ability of a certain Zanpakuto from 10,000 years. Possessing the ability to hypnosis. Similar to Kyoka Suigetsu, although it is not as powerful as Kyoka Suigetsu, it does not require others to see Shikai, and it can directly act as the object's righteousness. Su Chen used 3 dead branches. In the eyes of others, these 3 dead branches are Su Chen's 3 Zanpakuto, and they are convinced of this. Not long after, a person came in from outside. The man had brown skin, hair with many dreadlocks, and wore an eye patch before his eyes. He was Tusen Kanami, the captain of the 9th Division's prison team. Tusen Kanami talked to Su Chen through the wooden fences. Now you see how ugly the nobles of this world are. Even if the elders of the Tsunayashiro family just know that you have a Zanpakuto that can use other people's Shikai abilities, they won't tolerate you. Presumably your Zanpakuto has fallen into the hands of someone from the Tsunayashiro family at this moment. After all, there can only be one Yanluo mirror code in this world. You have a second one in your hand, so they will naturally find a way to get it. What? Facing such an ugly noble, how about joining us to create a new world? Aizen-sama will definitely give us an ideal world. Tusen Kanami stretched out his hand towards Su Chen. As long as you nod, there is no place in the world that can trap us. Su Chen glanced at Tusen Kanami and said calmly, "You are not qualified to talk to me." Tusen Kanami was not annoyed and left silently. 170. Then a skinny old man walked in. It was Tsunayashiro Hakucho, and there were several secret guards behind him. He picked up the 3 Zanpakuto in front of him. He sighed and said, what a pity, your Zanpakuto is indeed very strong, but it will soon belong to me. If I hadn't read the Great Spirit Book Corridor, I wouldn't have known that you actually have the same ability to replicate Zanpakuto, the Inara Katanori passed down from our Tsunayashiro family. It's a pity that there can only be one Yanluo mirror code in this world. It just so happens that my Zanpakuto's ability is to turn other people's Zanpakuto into my own, but the number of uses is limited. The 3 Zanpakuto in your hand are worth my effort. And you will be locked up in this underground prison forever. Su Chen smiled strangely after seeing Tsunayashiro Hakucho. Since you know that my Zanpakuto can copy the abilities of other Zanpakuto, why do you still dare to do it? Tsunayashiro Hakucho suddenly felt cold all over when he heard this. When he wanted to react, it was already too late. The secret guard behind him had already pulled out the Zanpakuto in his hand and chopped off his head. Tsunayashiro Hakucho's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe that he died so easily. Chapter 85 Inmate Tokunada, Tsunayashiro's Family's Experiments. Tsunayashiro Kuki was still laughing wildly at the success of his plan, which made his hideous old face look even more ugly. However, the next moment, he suddenly found that his phone seemed to jump up, and the broken line actually pulled up as if flying. Then he flew to a high point and rotated 180 degrees, turning the world upside down. He even saw his own body, a body without his head. Whose body is that? So familiar. Wait a minute, that seems to be your own body. Then he saw the blood-stained tip of the secret guard's knife. What's the situation? As one of the elders of the Tsunayashiro family and at the pinnacle of power in the Soul Society, how could he be killed so easily? Why would the secret guard actually attack him? At this moment, he deeply understood that with his strength, he was no match for Su Chen. Su Chen would kill him as easily as killing a chicken or a dog. It's a pity that he understood it now, but it was too late. Looking at Tsunayashiro Kitsune's body, Su Chen put his hands in his pockets. Even though he was in prison, he did not panic at all. He said calmly, "What a shame, what a pity. Although you have a good plan, everything is going according to your plan. If ordinary people were facing your plan, they would probably fall into the hands of the Tsunayashiro family. It's a pity that I am not an ordinary person. In the face of absolute power, all your plans will come to nothing in the end." Su Chen only used Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis to kill the secret guard and easily killed the elders of the Tsunayashiro family. At this moment, there was a sound of footsteps outside. Those secret guards all blended into the shadows and disappeared. Some guards, all covered in white clothes and even their heads covered with white cloth, with only a pair of eyes exposed, came in and opened Su Chen's cell door. Oh, looking at these interesting people, Su Chen raised the corner of his mouth and showed a smile. Unexpectedly, someone opened the door as soon as he entered the prison. One of the leaders lifted up his cloak and said, "Lord Tokidan invites you to have a talk and make plans together." This person is none other than Arasuka Sumao, one of Tsunayashiro Tokunada's subordinates. How could Su Chen not understand when he saw this person? Su Chen nodded. "Let's go and see what kind of person Shi Tan is. That's really the honor of the whole world," Arasuka Sumong said, and then he led Su Chen to the door of a cell. Squeak. Following a heavy, tooth-aching sound, the cell door slowly opened, and the sun crawled in like a gecko. On a lounge chair in the shadow, a young man opened his eyes as sinister as a snake. "Lord Tokunada, I'm back and I've brought Su Chen with me." Tsunayashiro Tokunada smiled. That smile might just be his casual smile, but it revealed his own indescribable weirdness. "Please step back. Next, I want to talk to Su Chen alone." As commanded, after Arasuka Sumo retreated, Tsunayashiro Tokunada stood up from the recliner and invited Su Chen to go into the cell for a chat. However, Su Chen was standing under the sun, with a lot of dust floating around. Tsunayashiro Tokunada was in the shadows, with only his eyes standing out in the darkness. "Tell me, what do you want from me?" Su raised his eyes and glanced at Tsunayashiro Tokunada. There was a kind of madness in Tsunayashiro Tokunada's voice, with a touch of hoarseness, and he said, "Su Chen. How about you and I join forces and kill all the elders of the Tsunayashiro family? At that time, I can become the elder of the Tsunayashiro family and control the power of the nobles." "Oh," Su Chen smiled and walked back and forth a few steps, as if he was admiring the cage. "Aren't you from the Tsunayashiro family? Why do you want to kill your own people?" Tsunayashiro Tokunada was silent for a moment. It seems that the impact of the next words is not small. It's a long story. Let's start with a woman. Her name is Tsunayoshi Yudashima. It's ironic, isn't it? The three words, Tsunayashiro, which are full of evil, can actually be combined with the two words, Yuji Kwang, which are full of kindness. Actually, I didn't marry her out of my own intention. I am just a chess piece of the Tsunayashiro family, a real chess piece. Hundreds of years ago, on the green grass on a hillside, the beautiful breeze blew, arousing the hair of the two people. A young woman sat next to the blindfolded young man. The young man's eyes were white, he was holding a cane in his hand, and he was completely blind. The woman gathered her silky black hair, put her hands on her hips, and looked up at the stars in the sky. "I saw beautiful stars in the starry sky, but also dark clouds covering the stars. I like the night sky," repeatedly. "Because the night sky is very similar to the world, everything is surrounded by darkness, but in this darkness, there are countless small lights that illuminate this darkness. However, there are also dark clouds that obscure the light. I want to be the one who drives away those dark clouds. In order to keep every light from disappearing, I want to drive away the darkness." Then Konami left Tucson Konami with his vow. Tsunayashiro Tokunada said with memories, "That day was the day I killed Yuta Kwang. In a sense, it was also my pity for her." When Utamaro learned about Tsunayashiro Tokunada's true nature, she herself suffered a heavy blow. But even so, she did not give up persuading Tsunayashiro Tokunada. Using her simple and loving voice, she tried to influence him. But Tokunada didn't take it seriously, and even felt extremely angry. As one of the five nobles, he would never allow his wife, who was born in Rukongai, to have a condescending attitude towards him. In the final analysis, Tsunayashiro Tokunada didn't love her either. He actually married Yuta Kwang under the orders of his family. At that time, the Tsunayashiro family was looking for some souls with potential, and wanted to conduct an experiment to see if the offspring born of those souls with potential would also inherit a certain potential. Jae Kwang, who happens to be a graduate of Spiritual Arts Academy, is one of them. So Tokidan, who received the order, had to use various strategies, using his false kindness and supreme noble status, to cleverly deceive Jae Kwang into his hands. And this woman who was born in Rukongai naively thought that she could really enter the Five Nobles safely and smoothly. Whenever Tokunada thought about how desperate this woman would look in the future, she felt happy. So later, on the night of the wedding, Tsunayoshiro Tokunada confessed everything to Tsunayashiro Utama, confessing that he had only deceived her feelings and deceived her into his hands. At the same time, with a pleasant smile on his face, he said, "If you regret your marriage, then your companions in Rukongai, including the wanted friend you often mentioned, will be punished." Chapter 86I, The Dark Cloud, Kill All the Tsunayashiro Family. However, to Tokunada's surprise, his expectations were dashed. Tsunayashiro Utashima just accepted this fact calmly after being sad for a while, and in turn persuaded Tokunada to open his heart to him. At the same time, because of Yuta's great potential, he successfully became a Shinigami. Even Kyoraku Shunsui and Jashiro Yukataki greatly appreciated Yuta's ability. Tsunayashiro Tokunada felt that he was being eroded by something. In the eyes of the Tsunayashiro family, Tokunada, as the last member of the family, is a completely insignificant person and a pawn that can be sacrificed at any time. He is just a container and a tool to carry the song and raise children for the evil Tsunayashiro. Every time he thought about his own situation and the dark past of the Tsunayashiro family that he saw in the corridor of the Great Soul Book, Tokunada felt angry. He knows that there is far more corruption in this world than the average person, but Jie Kwang's smile that reveals innocence and purity all the time, and her self-righteous attitude that she can fight against evil and uphold justice with her own strength, are even more. This made Shiden's dissatisfaction become stronger and stronger. I don't know whether it's luck or misfortune, but even though the senior officials of the Tsunayashiro family did not allow Tokunada to kill Yutamoto, an opportunity still appeared in front of Tokunada. For some reason, the plan of the Tsunayashiro family was learned by a male Shinigami 827, and this Shinigami also had a good impression of Utamaro, so one night, he quietly asked Tokunada to come out to confirm the matter. Tsunayashiro Tokunada naturally did not hide anything and told him everything personally. After he learned that everything was true, he fell into deep despair. He didn't know whether it was despair for Utamaro's fate, despair for Tsunayashiro Tokunada, or despair for this decadent world. In short, Tsunayashiro Tokunada looked at the other party's desperate face and felt happy. But after that, he didn't know whether he couldn't stand Tsunayashiro Tokunada's joy, or he had the heart to take Yutamoto back, so he pulled out the Zanpakuto in his hand and threatened to fight Tsunayashiro Tokunada. In fact, the two of them were equally powerful, and they fought for a while without a winner. Until finally, something unexpected happened. In order to find her husband who had been away for a long time, Jie Kwang appeared in front of the two of them at some point. When they saw her arrival, they both put down their knives. But just when the male Shinigami relaxed his vigilance, Tsunayashiro Tokunada stabbed the knife at Tsunayoshi Utamaro, and also penetrated the male Shinigami's body. Suddenly they both fell into a pool of blood. Tsunayashiro Tokunada was extremely excited. This unexpected thing happened, and Tsunayashiro Tokunada couldn't help but smile happily and crazily. Jie Kwang is finally dying. The emotion at the moment of killing is so pleasant. He said to Song Kwang. Okay, cry, be angry, whatever. Before your life burns out, use your Zanpakuto on me. However, until he was killed, Jie Kwang still smiled lightly. Yes. I'm sorry that I can't brush away the dark cloud that covers you. After saying that, Jie Kwang closed his eyes. Staring at the two corpses in front of him, Tsunayashiro Tokunada was stunned for a while, and then suddenly became furious. It was an anger he had never experienced before, and even his body began to tremble non-stop. Do you still look down on me until the last moment of your death? It's just because I can't see the stars, and I can't brush away the darkness that blocks me. What a stupid thing to say, Jie Kwang. I have been standing in the clouds from the beginning. No, I am Dark Cloud. It's ridiculous that you say stars make the world more beautiful. How come you never notice the ugliness of the stars trying to shine? Tsunayashiro kicked the body of the male Shinigami hard, trying to vent his anger. For a long time, he adjusted his breathing and calmed down. What a pity, Jie Kwang, I also want you to see more evil and absurdity in this world. Indeed, your peace-loving heart is precious, but your wish for world peace is impossible to realize. If you really do it, maybe I will be open to you, maybe you have opened your heart, that may mean I really love you. However, this confession could no longer reach Jie Kwang's ears. Because they were unable to protect the experimental subject Yutaka, they killed other Shinigami. After that, the Tsunayashiro family called Tokunada an incompetent person, and wanted to imprison him from now on. But Tsunayashiro Tokunada told a big lie, claiming that he had witnessed his wife's infidelity with another man, and that was why he killed her. This excuse gained the trust of Room 46, and he escaped from confinement and severely wounded Tusen Kanami, who came to seek injustice. At this moment, a man appeared in front of Tsunayashiro Tokunada. He used various means to reveal the truth and put Tsunayashiro Tokunada into a cage again. That person was Kyoraku Shunsui. From this time on, Tsunayashiro Tokunada entered a completely different life. And he met a woman who was extremely crucial to his plan, Dowager Aura. Tsunayashiro Tokunada picked up some of the important remarks and listened to Su Chen. After listening to this, Su Chen said calmly, "In fact, the reason why Yuta Kwang became a genius and became an experimental subject of the Tsunayashiro family is probably because there is a substance in her body, the Spirit King fragment, right?" Quote. And the so-called perfection technique is not that the mother was attacked by a hollow, so the hollow's power remains in the mother's body and is passed on to the child. It is precisely because the child has the Spirit King fragment in his body that he possesses the perfection technique and causes the hollow's attack. The Tsunayashiro family hopes that their descendants will be geniuses, so they let you marry Yuta and try to give birth to an heir. Tsunayashiro Tokunada was shocked. He didn't expect that even Su Chen knew such a secret. It seems you know a lot too. How's it going? You were just feared by the Tsunayashiro family, so that's why those old immortals tried their best to put you in jail. Now that you and I have the same purpose, do you want to join forces to kill all those old immortals in the Tsunayashiro family? Tsunayashiro Tokunada had a crazy and ferocious smile on his face. The 5th Division team building. Even on such a night, Aizen Sosuke's butler's office is still brightly lit. Perhaps the weather was a little cold, so Aizen Sosuke put on a plaid thin shirt. Holding a brush in hand, he was writing something on the table. At this moment, he looked outside the door. The horizontal door slowly opened, and standing outside was a petite girl. Oh, Chapter 87 Aizen's death. Seraiti was shocked. Aizen Sosuke pushed up his black-rimmed glasses and said, "Jin, you don't underestimate me." Ichimaru Jin, who was standing behind Aizen Sosuke, turned around and left, taking with him his fluttering captain of the 3rd Division, Haori, and a cold wind. Ichimaru Jin's pale face and the lion majesty-like smile at the corner of his mouth all revealed a chilling feeling. Hinamori Momo felt as if his body was about to freeze the moment Ichimaru Jin walked past him. That kind of coldness is not like a certain kind of cold weather, but like a kind of coldness that gradually erodes the soul. After Ichimaru Jin left, Hinamori Momo's pair of jade-white toes awkwardly clicked on the floor of the straw mat, as if to buckle the straw mat up. The pair of slender ankles seemed fragile and pitiful, as if they would break with just a slight brush, unable to withstand any force. Quote. Quote. I know it's wrong to disturb you so late. But I just learned that Yinshin was actually captured and imprisoned by the secret mobile team. Even though I didn't spend a long time with Su Chen. But I still want to save him. It's something I can't sleep at. I know it would be inappropriate to disturb Captain Aizen at such a late hour. But I really can't sleep. Hearing this, Aizen Sosuke slowly stood up and put the thin striped shirt he was wearing on Hinamori Momo. Hinamori Momo felt the warmth belonging to Captain Aizen on her body and was stunned for a moment. Do you think I will drive you away because of your rudeness? I usually seem so heartless. Aizen Sosuke smiled softly and patted Hinamori Momo on the shoulder. Come in, you can stay until you want to leave. Hinamori Momo's cheeks were slightly red, and she looked at Aizen Sosuke with admiration. It was Captain Aizen like this who was the Captain Aizen in her heart. Such gentleness surrounded her like a breeze, making her restless and restless. Stabilize. It seems that with Captain Aizen here, there is nothing to fear. And Captain Aizen will be like a mountain, standing in front of him forever and ever. Then Hinamori Momo sat on the floor in the room. Aizen Sosuke continued to write something in front of the desk. I heard that Chief Kido Su Chen was captured by members of the secret mobile team today. The reason seems to be to kill and mutilate his subordinates. Hinamori Momo crossed her legs with her hands. Captain Aizen, do you also think that the elder Kido was wrongly accused? Hinamori Momo also learned later that Su Chen had really become the Chief Kido, but he had not yet had time to hold a plenary meeting to announce the matter. Aizen Sosuke did not nod or shake his head, but simply said lightly, don't you think this matter is quite suspicious? First of all, the people who accused Mr. Kido at the scene later died. The death was said to be because the violent woman committed suicide out of fear of guilt after she was found. But why do the people who died happen to be the ones who accused Kido of being too big? Furthermore, although there are many corpses of Shinigami at the scene, as well as the great Kido himself, who has seen the great Kido kill those Shinigami with his own eyes. Why do the secret guards happen to be nearby? After arriving in time, why didn't you stop Su Chen instead of waiting for him to confirm everything before arresting him? Don't you think there are too many doubts in all of this? Hinamori Momo suddenly understood, what Captain Aizen means is, Su Chen was actually wronged. And many people are opposed to the decision to arrest Su Chen. Hinamori Momo continued, many people object. What about you, Captain Aizen? Aizen Sosuke turned around and smiled, not only me, but also the captain of the 2nd Division, the 4th Division captain, the 8th Division captain, the 10th Division captain, the 11th Division captain, the 12th Division captain, the 10th Division captain. Captain of the 3rd Division. It can be said that after Captain Kido was arrested, the entire Sarayan seemed to be shaken. Hinamori Momo's worried look disappeared little by little from her face. That's great. Captain Aizen's words are like cleansing my soul. It's great to be able to work under you, Captain Aizen. Yoruichi clicked deeper and deeper. Hinamori Momo fell asleep on the floor at some point, covered with a quilt. Facing the night wind, Aizen Sosuke went out. When Aizen Sosuke went out, a pair of feet wearing white socks followed him. Aizen Sosuke and Ichimaru Jin walked under the Great Holy Wall. It was a seemingly huge, white, noble, and lonely rock wall. Well, this place looks pretty good. It will serve as the place of death for the captain of the 5th Division. Ichimaru Jin squinted his eyes, crossed his arms and said, "Oh, Captain Aizen. No, I should call you Aizen-sama now, you are playing with a girl's heart like that. It's really not pity at all." Quote, "What, do you sympathize with her?" Aizen Sosuke glanced sideways at Ichimaru Jin. "No. It's better to say that this way we can better stir up unrest in Seraiti and implement our plan." Ichimaru Jin's mouth had a sinister look like snake smile. The next day, the morning sun shines on the land of Seraiti. Point 0. People on the land that had been silent all night gradually began to take action. Kuchiki home. Rukia Kuchiki polished the zanpakuto in her hands with a white cloth over and over again. Put down the white cloth and put the sharp zanpakuto into the scabbard. And what is sharper and more decisive than the blade is her gaze. Moving towards where she wants to go without hesitation. Division 5. Hinamori Momo got up from the bed on the ground. After taking off the quilt and rubbing his eyes, he realized that it was already late. I couldn't help but feel panicked. Immediately jumped out of bed. Yes, I'm sorry. I fell asleep before I knew it. Oops, Captain Aizen isn't here. Hinamori Momo touched his head, looked around and did not find Captain Aizen, but he saw something that looked like a document or a letter on the desk. Captain Aizen probably forgot to bring the documents he handled yesterday. Take it and bring it to Captain Aizen. Hinamori Momo said to himself as he picked up the letter and put it in his arms. Then he opened the door and ran towards the captain's room. Why didn't Captain Aizen call me? But it shouldn't be too late. Just take a shortcut. Hinamori Momo jumps over a roadblock. But what she didn't expect was what she saw after jumping over this roadblock. L. Chapter 88 Hinamori Momo's cry and captain level crushing. Hinamori Momo screamed in panic for the first time. The scream was shrill and shocking, as if it was about to break the voice of the person who made it. It was sharp and went straight through the sky, as if she had seen something extremely terrible. After hearing this sound, many nearby team members or captains were alarmed. What's wrong? It's the voice coming from the East Great Sacred Wall. It's Vice Captain Hinamori's voice. Everyone rushed to take a look. The bloody scene they saw shocked them deeply. I saw a bloody flower blooming quietly on the flawless white rectangular rock wall of the Great Holy Wall. Long blood stains even flowed from the top of the Great Holy Wall to the end, with a distance of dozens of meters in between. It shows how much pain the person who was killed went through. Hinamori Momo covered her mouth with both hands, her eyes widened angrily, as if they were about to pop out of her eyes, and tears flowed down uncontrollably. I couldn't believe the sunset I was seeing before my eyes. Obviously yesterday, Captain Aizen was still talking and laughing with me yesterday. Why did he die the next day? What happened? Who killed Captain Aizen? Captain Aizen. Captain Aizen. 1.1. I don't want this. Captain Aizen. Hinamori Momo screamed and cried heartbreakingly. She couldn't believe that such a gentle Captain Aizen would be killed one day. Who is it? Who is it? Hinamori Momo fell down on the white holy wall in front of her, her hands stained with the blood of Captain Aizen. The blood seemed to still contain the tenderness from last night, as well as Captain Aizen's words. It's a pity that everything has turned into nothing and can never come back. An anger that had nowhere to vent rose from the bottom of her heart. At this time, a chilling voice sounded from behind. What are you doing? You're making a lot of noise so early in the morning. The moment I heard this sound, I felt like I had fallen into an ice cellar. Hinamori Momo slowly turned around and saw the man who still kept a sinister smile even in front of Captain Aizen's body. Captain of the 3rd Division, Ichimaru Jin. Hitsugaya Toshiro happens to be nearby. His expression changed after hearing Hinamori Momo's voice. That's Hinamori's voice, what happened? So he rushed over immediately. Unexpectedly, when he arrived at the scene, what he saw was the death of Aizen Sosuke. This made him frown. He stood under the rock wall with white hair. Although he was small and carried zanpakuto on his back, his eyes revealed a calmness beyond ordinary people. Aizen Sosuke went out alone last night and came here. While Hitsugaya Toshiro was thinking, Suimori Dao had already drawn his sword towards Ichimaru Jin. Is it you? Hinamori Momo couldn't help it when she saw Ichimaru Jin's weird smile. You were sneaking around in Captain Aizen's office last night, standing behind Captain Aizen and wondering what you were laughing at. You fled immediately after I arrived. No matter how you look at it, everything has nothing to do with you. The zanpakuto in his hand unsheathed angrily and slashed towards Ichimaru Jin. Ichimaru Jin looked at Hinamori Momo's angry sword but still squinted his eyes. He seemed not afraid at all. He just pressed his right hand slightly on the handle of the sword at his waist. When Hinamori Momo's Zanpakuto intersects with Kira Izuru's Zanpakuto, creating a sound of gold and iron clashing. At the critical moment, Kira Izuru stood in front of Ichimaru Jin. Kira looked at Hinamori Momo and seemed to recall the friendship they had when they went to school together at the Spiritual Arts Academy. However, at this moment, he could not retreat even a little bit. I am Kira Izuru, the vice captain of the 3rd Division. No matter what reason you have, you cannot point the knife at Captain Ichimaru past me. Hinamori Momo's voice seemed to be trembling, and she said in a low voice, Kira, get out of the way. I cannot do it. Get out of the way. Can't do it. I told you to get out of the way, don't you understand? Hinamori Momo roared. Then I said it couldn't be done, didn't you understand? Kira Izuru responded with the same gesture. Bloom, Fame. As Hinamori Momo finished speaking, Zanpakuto, who had a pink silk thread wrapped around the handle of the knife in his hand, suddenly shikai and turned into a 7-branched sword. The blade of the blade branches toward the tip of the blade like a tree branch, with 3 branches on each side. Therefore, it is also called the 7-branched sword. The blade behind the shikai is surrounded by a pink halo, and there are many pink plum blossom petals flying around the blade. Hinamori Momo's Reiatsu also suddenly increased sharply. With a slight wave of Hinamori Momo, a hot fireball attacked Kira Izuru. Boom! The fireball exploded on the solid wood floor, forming a flame circle several meters in diameter, followed by a burning smell. Large circles of white smoke dispersed. Kira Izuru jumped out of the white smoke, looking a little embarrassed, but she seemed to be fine. You are here Shikai Zanpakuto, do you know what you are doing? Kira Izuru wiped the corner of his mouth. Hinamori Momo didn't reply at all, but continued to wave the flying plum in his hand. The pink fireball condensed on the flying plum's blade, and then attacked forward. Kira Izuru Shunpo got out of the way. In this case, don't blame me for being ruthless. I treat you as a human being. Look up. Wabisuk. The Zanpakuto in Kira Izuru's hand also succeeded in Shikai, turning into a Zanpakuto with a hook-shaped tip at the tip, which looks like a hook. This kind of Zanpakuto is not like a counter-slashing style at all. Instead, it treats the enemies who have no resistance, placing their heads in Wabisuke's hook and then cutting them off easily. After Shikai, Kira and Hinamori Momo confronted each other. Both of them were using their full strength, and the Zanpakuto in their hands could not be stopped at all. Just when the 2 Zanpakuto were about to collide, a person appeared between the 2. Just using his hands and feet, he easily blocked the 2 attacks. None other than Hitsugaya Toshiro. At this time, he only slightly pulled out a few centimeters of Zanpakuto, and blocked Kira Izuru's Jiasuke under the iron blow. 2.9 As soon as he stepped on his left foot, a powerful force knocked Hinamori Momo's flying plum to the ground, and the sound penetrated the floor. Neither of you move. Hitsugaya Toshiro glanced at the 2 of them coldly. Hinamori Momo and Kira were shocked when they saw the sudden appearance of Hitsugaya Toshiro. The Reiatsu in his hand told them the huge gap between the captain and the vice captain. Hitsugaya. Hinamori Momo glanced at Hitsugaya Toshiro with tears in her eyes. Catch them both. Soon Hitsugaya Toshiro's men were dispatched one after another to control the 2 vice captains. Ichimaru Jin looked at this scene and said, I'm sorry, Captain of the 10th Division, my people have caused trouble for you. Hitsugaya Toshiro did not look back, but said quietly, Ichimaru, did you just want to kill Hinamori? Chapter 89 Those who are not afraid of the sword they hold are not qualified to hold the sword. Ichimaru Jin smiled. Ah, what are you talking about? Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes held a kind of threat. I have spoken beforehand. If anything happens to Hinamori, I will kill you. Oh, it's so scary. Then you have to be careful not to let bad people get close to her. I won't give up. Ichimaru Jin responded with an invisible smile on his face. Division 4. After Unohana Retsu inspected Aizen Sosuke's body, he felt that something was not right, but he couldn't explain it. It seemed to be just his own illusion. So, Captain Aizen is really, Unohana Retsu nodded. When I took him off the holy wall, he was no longer breathing. We also considered whether it might be a prosthetic body used to cover up people's eyes. The fact is that he is dead. This is the final confirmed result. Aizen Sosuke, captain of the 5th Division, has died. Unohana Retsu said in her unhurried, neither high nor low tone. It seemed that nothing could cause any fluctuation in her voice. At this moment, Tusen Kanami and Komamura Sajin, who had brought the body of Aizen Sa-26 Yusuke, walked out of the 4th team together. Hisagi Shuhei, the vice captain of Division 9, is a short-haired young man wearing a black death suit. There is a mark of 69 on the left cheek, which seems to mean 6 cars and 9 divisions. After all, the former captain of Division 9 was Mugaruma Kensai. That is not a simple man. There are 3 scars on Hisagi Shuhei's right eye. It seems that he was injured by Shu, which also caused poor vision in his right eye. Captain Tusen, how's the situation? Tusen Kanami said calmly. Captain Aizen is dead. If you want to know who the murderer is, I'm afraid we need to do more investigation. Quote. Komamura Sajin is an extremely tall Shinigami, more than twice as tall as the average Shinigami. His entire body is shrouded under a wooden helmet, even his eyes are exposed. The reason why he doesn't reveal his true face is because he is not a human, but a member of the human wolf clan. It looks like there's going to be a fight. Without it, human beings would not be confused by ugly emotions, and the ugly tragedy would not be caused. I hate war. Street. Tusen Kanami walked on it, followed by Hisagi Shuhei, deputy captain of Division 9. Hisagi Shuhei looked at the firm figure of his captain, a little lost in thought. It seems that the captain has not been affected by the death of Captain Aizen. It seems that there is much more to his captain than he knows. I feel like a child who knows nothing about this world. Follow the captain. That feeling only passed away briefly, and then returned to normal. Then he held the Zanpakuto in his hand and said with some distress, Captain Tusen, I am troubled and I don't know how to tell you. Explain. You have seen my Zanpakuto, Wind Death, Shikai's appearance before. Quote. Tusen Kanami recalls Hisagi Shuhei's Shikai. After liberation, it turned into two double-headed revolving blade sickles strung together by chains. They were in the shape of a thin S, with a curvature similar to the Silver Moon scimitar, and the chains were very long. The attack method causes the blade to rotate rapidly and uses chains to control the attack on the opponent. The direction of the attack cannot be predicted, so it is called Wind Death. Hisagi Shuhei said worriedly, I often feel that my Zanpakuto is too cruel, like cutting off heads and taking people's lives. Can such a Zanpakuto really be used to protect peace? Tusen Kanami's footsteps stopped. This caused Hisagi Shuhei to stop, and he felt that the atmosphere was a little solemn. Tusen Kanami said, those who are not afraid of the sword they hold are not qualified to hold the sword. You are afraid of the sword in your hand, afraid of killing, and your desire for peace is correct. However, the weapon in your hand does not matter whether it is good or evil. No matter how much blood it is stained with, as long as it is stained with the blood of a sinful person, it is the road to righteousness. Hisagi Shuhei nodded when he heard this. You understand, Captain, as long as Feng Shi can be used to eradicate evil and eliminate rape, it is used on the right path. Tusen Kanami said with a serious smile, Shubing, you are still too immature. You have never understood what evil is in this world. Hisagi Shuhei couldn't understand what the captain said, but Tusen Kanami didn't continue. Division 5 Prison. Hinamori Momo leaned against the cold wall behind her, but couldn't let her heart cool down at all. She bent her legs, her knees touching her chest, and held her calves together with both hands, feeling silently sad. Until now she couldn't accept the fact that Captain Aizen was dead. At this moment, she felt something hard in her arms. When I took it out and looked at it, I found that it was something that looked like a document and a letter that I got from Captain Aizen's desk. Wait. Letter. Could it be the letter left by Captain Aizen? Let's see what's written on it. Hinamori Momo suddenly felt hope rise again in her heart. Captain Aizen died mysteriously. There must be some clues written in the 487 letter, or what he was going to do tonight. Hinamori Momo opened the letter and read it. Hinamori, by the time you read this letter, I won't be able to come back. I've caused you a lot of trouble. No matter how much I express my gratitude, I feel it's still not enough. Seeing this, Hinamori Momo couldn't help but confirm that Captain Aizen is an extremely gentle person. Even though he knew that he might not come back, he still thanked himself in such a gentle tone in the letter. How could he let Captain Aizen down and let the murderer go? What about impunity? She continued reading. I have never mentioned to you the uneasiness I feel. I hope you can understand that it is because I am afraid of injuring you. But now, I hope you can forgive me, because I still have to hurt you. I probably won't survive, but I wrote the truth on it. Give me the most trust in you. Although it is just an insignificant piece of paper that will break into pieces if it is torn lightly, Hinamori Momo still feels that it is not enough even if she holds it with both hands. Captain Aizen paid for this with his own life. It was as if he weighed more than 10,000 pounds. His hands trembled when he saw the name of the murderer who killed Captain Aizen. Chapter 90 Su Chen takes action, with terrifying strength, killing him instantly. A prison. Su Chen glanced at Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada with contempt, then suddenly rushed out, grabbed Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada's neck, and lifted him up from the ground. Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada didn't expect that Su Chen would suddenly take action and possess such terrifying strength, leaving him completely powerless to resist. Su Chen, what do you do? Su Chen looked at Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada as if he were a scumbag, and it seemed that every time he looked at him, his eyes would get dirty. Cooperate with me. Are you worthy? Su Chen gently swung Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada onto the wall as if throwing away trash, and let out a roar. He obviously didn't use much effort, but countless spider web-like cracks appeared on the wall. Click, 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 Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada and the gravel rolled down together. He sat on the ground and looked at Su Chen with some fear. The figure standing in the sun seemed to have the irresistible power of a king. How is it possible? Your Reiatsu is actually at the captain level, at least a third level Reiatsu, or even higher. Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada got up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He didn't expect that he had no resistance in front of Su Chen. Su Chen glanced at Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada coldly. You can do it for yourself, the so-called madness will only bring destruction. Tsuneyoshiro Tokunada was not afraid at all, and said while spitting blood, "Ha ha 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 ha, so what if it is destroyed? It is not me who is crazy, but this world." Su Chen ignored Tsunayashiro Tokunada, a somewhat abnormal Shinigami, and walked out of here. The sun was shining outside, so Su Chen stretched. Now, it's time to greet the Tsunayashiro family. Shake a bit. Su Chen's figure disappeared from the spot and seemed to turn into a beam of rainbow light at a very fast speed, heading towards the land of the Tsunayashiro family. If other Shinigami saw it, they would be surprised. How could Shunko be so fast? Su Chen was flying in midair, with the land and countless buildings beneath her feet. Looking down from such a height, the mountains, rivers, and mansions below all seemed to become insignificant. And I am like the existence above the clouds, the world below is like a chessboard, and all living beings are like chess pieces. The wind in the sky was strong, and Su Chen's clothes rustled. The black clothes were open, as if they could wrap everything up. He lowered his head and glanced below. Although he didn't know where the Tsunayashiro family was, the spirit book naturally knew it, and he found it after a brief inquiry. It is one of the most luxurious places located in the inner court of Seraiti. It occupies a large area and is very conspicuous. The inner court is basically full of nobles, and the living conditions are much better than those in the outer court. And there is also a special inner court guard team, that is, the 7th team for protection. After finding the place, Su Chen dropped like a cannonball towards the Tsunayashiro family's mansion. At this moment, deep underground in that mansion, a group of elders from the Tsunayashiro family were gathering to discuss. You should all know the news that Huchu is dead, right? Damn it, I didn't expect Huchu to be killed in prison. Who killed him? At that time, he seemed to have captured the Elder Kido, and then went to the prison to meet the Elder Kido and then was killed. So it was the Elder Kido who killed Fox Chu. What was his name? It seems to be called Su Chen. This big Kido is indeed powerful, and he also has Zanpakuto who can use other people's Shikai abilities. He has not used Bankai yet. If he is allowed to continue to grow, it may be detrimental to us. Then what do you mean? Get rid of him. It's nothing wrong, it's just a civilian's life. Apart from that, don't we have too many Pinkang in our hands? At this moment, a scream that penetrated the cracked gold and stone came from outside. I want to see who wants to get rid of me. The moment they heard this sound, the ears of these elders seemed to be bombarded by a huge sound, and their tinnitus was ringing. The terrifying Reiatsu shattered the eardrums of many people. Blood flowed. Boom. Before he finished speaking, a loud bang came from above the heads of these elders. Immediately, a large hole of several meters was easily punched through the ceiling of the basement where they were. A beam of sunlight shines down from the round hole. These elders, who had been in the darkness for a long time, seemed to be a little dazzling when they saw the sunshine. They squinted their eyes and stretched out their hands to block their eyes. After the smoke and dust dissipated, the elders saw that the conference table in front of them had been completely shattered, and a huge wall several meters in diameter had fallen down. A lot of flying gravel or directly hit their faces, or hit their eyes, causing blood to flow out, making them scream in pain. Who dares to trespass on the elders' territory? Where is the secret guard? Why don't you come out and capture this person? The elders of the Tsunayashiro family did not react for a while. After all, the Tsunayashiro family is surrounded by secret mobile teams of secret guards, and ordinary people cannot break in at all. Brush, brush, brush. In an instant, a large number of Shinigami wearing black clothes and masks jumped down from the hole above and surrounded Su Chen. After these elders saw dozens of secret guards surrounding the mysterious intruder, their anxious hearts were relieved. This man has trespassed into a powerful place. The secret guards must capture him quickly. Dozens of secret guards took action together. However, these elders only saw Su Chen looking coldly at the secret guards. The movements of the secret guards continued to move forward for a certain distance at first. It seems that there is no impact at all. But as we move forward, the distance increases. They were surprised to find that there was a deviation between the heads and bodies of the secret guards, and a black hair thin line appeared on their necks. Although their bodies were still moving forward based on the movement of their feet, their heads just followed the inertia for a certain distance and then gradually slowed down. After dislocating bit by bit, it fell behind them. As a result, their bodies did not run a few steps, and they all fell to the ground in unison. There was no pain of death in their eyes at all, as if they didn't even know when their heads were cut off. Although the elders of the Tsunayashiro family have seen a lot of blood and killings in the Soul Society, such a strange scene still made them shrink their pupils and make their livers and gallbladder split. You. Who are you? Chapter 91 Rain and Dew Pomegranates, shocking Kamui, killing all the Tsunayashiro family. You. How do you have such terrifying strength? Why did you just look at the secret guards and kill them? What kind of terrible Zanpakuto's Shikai is this? Or is it Bankai? These elders were simply unable to see clearly what had just happened. Su Chen just draws the sword, kills people, and puts the sword away, that's all. It's just that the speed is so fast that it exceeds the sight limit of these elders. Su Chen glanced at several people coldly. Can't you recognize the person you were discussing just now? You. You are Su Chen. How did you find us? Su Chen, as a civilian, you are so bold. Where is Yanluo Jingdian? Why don't you hurry up and bring Yanluo Jingdian? Each of these elders panicked and wanted to use Yanluo Jingdian to deal with Su Chen. Su Chen looked at the panic of these people and smiled. It's not too stupid, it's a pity, did I let you go? The next moment, Su Chen's figure turned into an invisible spirit and disappeared from the place. When he reappeared, he had transformed into dozens of clones, and all the elders Koyeo stopped him. What kind of terrifying ability is this, that can actually divide so many clones? Dozens of Su Chen said calmly, have you forgotten? The sword locked in the infinite hell. One of the elders widened his eyes and said fearfully, you mean Kenpachi of Mole City? That devil. Mole City Kenpachi. His original name is Mole City Shuangye, the eldest son of the aristocratic Mole City family. Its Zanpakuto ability is extremely pervert. Captain Kyoraku Shunsui of the 8th Division once commented, we have never seen the knife. Although he has been carrying it, we can't see it. Hundreds of years ago, he killed the 7th generation Kenpachi and became the 8th generation Kenpachi. Mole Joso also said when he killed Kenpachi Karyashiki, if you activate Bankai instead of Shikai, both sides will die together, so there will be no winner. Karyashiki Kenpachi's ability is also extremely pervert, because Bankai has a huge destructive power that even Karyashiki himself cannot control and does not distinguish between friend and foe. After testing the power of this Bankai in Seraiti, Central 46 strictly prohibits the use of Kenpachi in Seraiti Bankai, no matter what happens. When Mole City Shuangye was young, not long after his family suffered a change, CGAG, other nobles coveted the Mole City family and framed most of the members of the Mole City family to death. The only surviving mole, Cheng Shuangye, and his sister were at the execution place, a huge pit. Once upon a time, Soul Society put the criminal Shinigami and Hollow into a pit together, and sat there to watch the deadly battle between the so-called sinners and Hollows. When fighting against the Hollow, in order to protect Mole City Shuangye, her sister forced herself to use the Kido, Shuanglian blue fire pendant, that was originally unusable, causing her body to explode and destroying the giant Manos Grande holding her. Only the smile of his sister before she died was imprinted in the boy's mind. The nobles were still dissatisfied and ordered him to be put into the execution ground. The desperate Mole City awakened Zanpakuto Yulu Zaliu, and its powerful power killed all the nobles on the scene. The so-called Rain and Dew Pomegranate. One of its features is that it can maintain the Bankai state all the time, instead of being able to maintain the Bankai state only briefly like other Shinigami. The ability is to fuse one's own spirit with the spirits contained in other living things or non-living things, and then be able to manipulate them at will. After integrating one's own soul into the soul of an inorganic object, one can control the object around to attack or restrain the enemy as freely as using one's hands and feet. Once integrated with a certain space, you can monitor, listen, perceive, and control everything in it, and you can create clones to appear in any corner of the space at will. Its fusion range is so large that it even varies depending on the user's Reiatsu strength, and Mole Hoshuya can easily cover the entire Seraiti when used. Even Aizen Sosuke's Kyoka Suigetsu can be cracked easily. Because Mole City Shuang can also fuse with Seraiti's atmospheric spirit, which is equivalent to being able to touch Kyoka Suigetsu's Zanpakuto blade all the time, and can ignore Kyoka Suigetsu's hypnosis effect. However, Yulu Zaliu is not invincible. When the creature fused with Mole City is sucked away by Reiatsu, Mole City's soul will be damaged dozens of times. Therefore, something that can absorb Reiatsu can be said to be Mole City's biggest nemesis. But what I have to say is that Yulu Zaliu is really useful for killing nobles. In your eyes, civilians can kill at will. Su Chen said calmly. In fact, there is no need to ask, he already knows the result. He has already seen through the spiritual book that these elders are all evildoers and deserve to die. Ha ha ha, what kind of joke are you talking about? How can mere commoners be compared with us nobles? None of our hands are stained with blood, but how can you understand that we stand at the pinnacle of power, and the state is not powerful? The fear of power. Even if there is only one chance in 10,000, we will wipe out civilians like you who may rebel and have strong power. A cold light flashed in Su Chen's eyes. Are you going to kill other people just because of your own fear and fear? It's really ridiculous. Now, you can die. The next moment, dozens of Su Chen swung their swords at the same time, and many elders of the Tsunadai family in front of them were cut off. Rain and Dew Pomegranate, Su Chen said softly. Then dozens of clones turned into spirits and merged into the atmosphere, and the entire Tsunayashiro family mansion was completely covered in Bing. At this moment, all actions of everyone in the Tsunayashiro family are under Su Chen's surveillance. Spirit book, find all the criminals in the Tsunayashiro family. Okay, it's done. Then there was a lot more information in Su Chen's consciousness. There are those who commit violence against civilian women, and there are those who make civilians fight with Shu. All kinds of evil deeds are endless. Afterwards, the spirit seeds in the atmosphere condensed, forming a Zanpakuto. This is the result of using Su Chen's spirit control ability together with Mole City Shuangyi's Rain and Dew Pomegranate ability to condense whatever you want out of thin air. In the case of Mole City Shuangya, he can only fuse existing Zanpakuto, but cannot directly create a Zanpakuto like Su Chen. The knife rises. The knife fell. Kill all those who have committed capital crimes. This day, the blood of the Tsunayashiro family runs deep. What's the situation? Who is the enemy? Why can't you even see the enemy? Why do knives kill on their own? What kind of terrifying ability is this? The sinners of the Tsunayashiro family didn't even know what happened before they died. Chapter 92. Human, Ghost, D, Shi, Yi, Wei. After this purge, 2/3 of the Tsunayashiro family members died. Although it is not said that the clan will be exterminated, the vitality will be greatly damaged. However, at this moment, a young man ran into a secret place very calmly. Before he entered, many secret guards suddenly jumped out from hidden places. After seeing these secret guards, the young man said coldly, "Now that the Tsunayashiro family is in chaos, why don't you go deal with the enemy quickly, or we will kill you later." The secret guards hesitated for a moment when they heard this, and then said, "I obey, ninth young master." This young man is none other than Tsunayashiro Riko, the ninth heir to the Tsunayashiro family. After seeing these secret guards leaving, he breathed a sigh of relief. Entering this secret place, I picked up a Zanpakuto enshrined there, Yanluo Mirror Code. However, at this moment, a voice seemed to sound beside him. 923, did you pick up the Yanluo Jingdian to deal with me? Tsunayashiro Rikar turned around and looked around, but did not see any figure, but he remained calm. It would be better to say that I would like to thank you, if it weren't for the turmoil you caused. I still can't get this Zanpakuto. I know better that you are using Kenpachi's Yulu Zaliu now, so it can be used everywhere. Quote. Su Chen chuckled lightly. It seems that the Tsunayashiro family are not all ordinary people, and I also know that you have long been dissatisfied with the various decisions of the Tsuyashiro family, so you were imprisoned in the room, inside. Tsunayashiro Riga said, "It is precisely because of this turmoil that the secret guards guarding my room left one after another, and I was able to have the opportunity I have now. Don't you hate me for killing members of the Tsunayashiro family?" Tsunayashiro Rikar smiled. "No, those people have done all kinds of evil, and they all deserve to die, and I also used the Zanpakuto in my hand to kill the heirs in front of me, so that I can take the position of the head of the Tsunayashiro family. Only then can I possibly change the family tradition and change the current situation of the Tsunayashiro family." 1. Su Chen was a little surprised. "I didn't expect there was someone like you in the Tsunayashiro family." Tsunayashiro Riku's shoulders trembled slightly, and he said with sharp eyes, "You should know what kind of scum the Tsunayashiro family members are. Even within the same clan, there are still clear factional struggles. My parents both I was tortured by them, and my sister was treated inhumanely in order to protect me. This family is originally a place full of sin. I am determined to change this place, so I can't be merciful. Even if you don't kill me, after obtaining the Yanluo Mirror Code, I will kill those people, with my hands." "Very good. I have killed most of the sinners in the Tsunayashiro family, and the remaining ones are unable to resist you who have obtained the Yanluo Mirror Code. I will leave it to you to rectify the Tsunayashiro family." Tsunayashiro Liga nodded, and then stepped out steadily with the Yanluo Mirror Code. Su Chen took shape outside the Tsunayashiro family mansion. The spirit book also turned into Zanpakuto. The white bandage was wrapped around the blade and Su Chen's waist softly, and hung on Su Chen's waist as gently as a girl's hair. As for cutting grass and eliminating roots, they are temporarily stored in the inner world. There is no need to carry 3 Zanpakuto around all the time. I didn't expect there was such a person in the Tsunayashiro family. The voice of the spiritual book sounded ethereal in Su Chen's consciousness. Everyone has different human nature. Indeed, Tsunayashiro Tokunada was determined to fall after seeing the ugliness of the family. Tsunayashiro Riku endured endless evil treatment and was still determined to change the family. Although we also see the inside story of the family, that is, they have different paths. This killing can at least stabilize the Tsunayashiro family, the source of all evil, for a while. Tsunayashiro Riko can handle the rest of the matter by himself. Let's go. As I was walking, I saw someone selling takoyaki. The sizzling roasting aroma comes out. Su Chen was not moved at all, but the spiritual book was already drooling in his mind. Su Chen couldn't help but pause. "Why, do you want to try it?" "Yeah," Ling Shu said in an ethereal voice, "because I don't have a body, so I can't eat." Su Chen also realized that perhaps because the spirit book was a conscious body, she could not eat. Although she knew all the knowledge in the world and how to make food, she had never tasted or felt anything in the world. Things. This may be the sad part of spiritual books. But I'm afraid this girl doesn't even know what sadness is. When a person dies, he becomes a ghost. When a ghost dies, he obeys. When he dies, he becomes a hope. When he dies, he becomes a misfortune. When he dies, he becomes a misfortune. To turn a blind eye is called Yi. To hear but not hear is called Shi. To fail to fight is called Wei. These 3 cannot lead to cross-examination, so they are mixed into one. They are not ignorant at the top, and they are not ignorant at the bottom. They are like ropes. Unnameable, it returns to nothingness. Maybe you belong to Ju, you can know everything, but you can't feel everything. Ling Shu asked with some curiosity, did you say those words just now? Those, part of them were said by Laozi. Ling Shu stopped asking and seemed a little angry. By the way, I should be able to use the ability of spirit control, or Muramasa, to materialize you. After materializing, you should be able to eat. Do you want to try it? Yes. Ling Shu replied without hesitation. Su Chen came to a remote and uninhabited place and took off the spiritual book from his waist. Then he used spirit control to condense the spirit body, and also condensed a set of clothes for her. In midair, a girl with long snow-white hair slowly fell down. She was wearing a white dress with beautiful ruffles on the skirt. On his feet are a pair of shiny leather boots, and he wears white jade foot covers. She was a girl who could not be described with any kind of beautiful words. There was no flaw in her facial features, her skin was as white as snow, and her clear pupils like stars were staring at the familiar yet unfamiliar world in front of her. She is like a piece of white paper without color. Anyone who sees her for the first time can't help but want to dye her with his own color. Because the hair of the spirit book is very long, more than twice as long as the body, it is not very convenient to walk, so when condensing the spirit body, the length of the hair was deliberately shortened, but it still fell asleep. The position of her perky buttocks. The petite girl slowly fell from the air and threw herself into Su Chen's arms. It's fragrant and soft, and very comfortable to hold. Ling Shu pushed Su Chen's chest and stood up, trying to walk with his spirit body for the first time. He almost fell to the ground as soon as he took a step. Fortunately, Su Chen held her hand. How are you? Can you walk? Quote. Ling Shu stretched out his little hand and pulled Su Chen's sleeve, with no expression on his face, but said fruitfully. Oh, Chapter 93 Rukiov's Byakuya Kuchiki. Su Chen held Ling Shu's thigh with both hands and walked on the street. The small body has almost no weight, as if it is carrying a cute doll. Ling Shu's fleshy little hand held a bunch of takoyaki and was eating it in small bites. It seemed that she had never eaten such delicious food. While eating, the hair on her head shook, indicating that she was in a good mood. The little feet in leather boots flicked in front of Su Chen. At this moment, Su Chen's eyes were looking somewhere, where a powerful Reiatsu exploded. It seems we have something to do. Ling Shu also finished eating the takoyaki and nodded. Move back some time. This is a necessary bridge to the prison. Rukia Kuchiki climbed the bridge without hesitation. She had already decided to do this when she polished her Zanpakuto. If no one could save Su Chen, then I would break the rules and save him repeatedly. The 26 rules adhered to by the Kuchiki family are important, but there is something more important than that. On the way Rukia Kuchiki moved forward, many guards jumped out. The prison ahead, idlers stop. Rukia Kuchiki didn't say much, she just responded with the knife in her hand. In fact, she already has a vice-captain level Reiatsu, and these guards are no match for her. Perhaps what Rukia Kuchiki didn't know was that Jashiro Yukitaki was in the captain's room, sitting on the bed and knitting the captain's haori with his own hands. The captain's haori was originally going to be given to Shiba Kyan, but unfortunately Shiba Kyan died before he could wear it. Jashiro Yukitaki planned to change the knitting to Rukia Kuchiki. When one day Rukia Kuchiki can learn Bankai and become strong enough to convince the team members, then give her the captain haori. After defeating one guard after another at this moment, Rukia Kuchiki's breathing only accelerated slightly but was still very steady. However, the moment he saw the two figures in front of him, Rukia Kuchiki's breathing suddenly became rapid, and even her heartbeat slowed down a beat. Her pupils dilated, with some fear in them. Because standing in front of her was her brother Byakuya Kuchiki, and an elder of the Kuchiki family. The elder of the Kuchiki family looked at her coldly. Rukia Kuchiki broke into the prison without permission, injured the guard, put in prison, and will be tried at your own choice. Byakuya Kuchiki stood there quietly. The wind blew through the air, picking up a few petals and floating in front of him. His body is long and upright, and he says nothing every day. On the head and neck are the hair accessories, star clamps, that only the nobles are entitled to wear. He is the kind of person who gives people an extremely terrifying pressure just by standing there. That kind of suffocating Reiatsu intensity. It was like everything around him was dead. Only the Byakuya Kuchiki in front of him stood out in the darkness of death. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at the person in front of him with a pair of narrow eyes. Even though the other party was his sister, there was still no fluctuation in his eyes. Are you going to capture it yourself, or do you want me to do it? Byakuya Kuchiki said without emotion, not even putting his hand on the handle of the knife, and did not take Rukia Kuchiki into consideration at all. Just like the moment these words fell, Rukia Kuchiki escaped from the suffocation of complete darkness. Her forehead and back were already soaked with cold sweat. Yet her legs didn't take a step back. Brother. You might not understand. Sometimes protecting someone you cherish is far more important than any rules. Rukia Kuchiki's other hand was also pressed on the handle of the knife, holding the knife tightly with both hands, as if holding the whole world, adjusting her breathing. Stand up the Zanpakuto in your hand and turn it in a circle. Let's dance together. Bye-bye Shui. The next moment, spiritual power exploded in Rukia Kuchiki's hand, and Zanpakuto was already Shikai. It turned into a pure white Zanpakuto. The blade, handle, and sword, all were pure white Zanpakuto. The ribbon on the tail of the knife stayed in the air following the circular trace, forming a white circle, with a few snowflakes dancing around it, as beautiful as dancing. Soda no Shirayuki, the ice and snow Zanpakuto, is known as the most beautiful Zanpakuto in Soul Society so far. First dance, Yubai. As Rukia Kuchiki waved Zanpakuto, the next moment a circle with her as the center and a range of several meters in diameter was covered, turning into a land of ice and snow. Her dark, starry eyes also reflected the beautiful white ice and snow. Click, click, click. The ice and snow condensed towards Byakuya Kuchiki's feet, and crawled towards his body bit by bit. In the end, Byakuya's entire body was condensed into transparent ice crystals. Rukia Kuchiki breathed a sigh of relief. Even his elder brother, frozen by the white moon, should not be able to move anymore. Brother, I'm offended. But what Rukia Kuchiki didn't expect was that all the crystals would explode in the next moment. Byakuya Kuchiki stood unscathed, his eyes still emotionless, as if they were colder than the ice formed by Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia, if you have any other tricks, use them as soon as possible. Because if you don't do it, you might die. Byakuya Kuchiki pressed his right hand on the handle of his Zanpakuto, making a slight metallic sound. Hearing Byakuya Kuchiki's words, Rukia Kuchiki couldn't help but shrink his pupils. No, 820 she quickly wanted to retreat, but it was too late. It can only be activated temporarily. In an instant, she stabbed the ground 4 times. However, Byakuya Kuchiki's movements were too fast and he had already appeared in front of her, with the Zanpakuto in his hand crossing. When, click, the first sound was the crisp sound of 2 swords clashing. The second sound was the sound of the Zanpakuto breaking in Rukia Kuchiki's hand. When it was broken, there were a lot of fine snowflakes flying out from the break like broken iron filings. It was both beautiful and sad. She looked at the Soda no Shirayuki in her hand in shock. How can it be? How could it be broken so easily? Is the gap in strength between myself and my brother really that big? Rukia Kuchiki staggered back, looking at the half Zanpakuto in her hand in shock. However, he has not lost yet. The move he made just now has already taken shape, turning into a pillar of ice and snow with a diameter of several meters, rushing towards Byakuya Kuchiki. He has not yet reached Byakuya Kuchiki, but that kind of blow to his face, the cold air coming from him seemed to freeze his body, and his nose would get cold just by taking a breath. Byakuya Kuchiki watched quietly as the pillar of ice and snow struck in front of him, calmly raising the Zanpakuto in his hand. Scatter. Senbon Sakura. Chapter 94 A Beautiful Sword, Byakuya Kuchiki's Appreciation. The next moment, a large number of extremely dangerous thin blades floated down from the air like beautiful pink petals. This scene doesn't look like a battle at all, but more like that pleasant spring day when sakura flowers are in full bloom throughout Seraiti, and pairs of lovers are walking under the sakura trees to admire them. The wind is blowing, and sakura flowers are falling like rain all over the sky. This beautiful scene can shake anyone's heart. And Byakuya Kuchiki's Senbon Sakura also has the power to strike fear into every enemy. Boom. A large number of icicles bombarded the wall composed of countless blades. 2 powerful waves of Reiatsu collided and exploded, scattering in all directions. It was like 2 water jets colliding with each other, and ended up scattering in all directions. Soon after, Samai Balian's attack was completely eliminated. Senbon Sakura's petals were still there, easily passing over Rukia Kuchiki's body. The next moment, a large amount of blood spurted out from all parts of Rukia Kuchiki's body, and she could no longer stand. She knelt down on the ground with her eyes blank, and made a plop. The Black Death uniform on her body was also dyed red with red blood. But her hand, even though it was scarred, still held the Zanpakuto tightly in her hand. Byakuya Kuchiki held the hilt of Zanpakuto in his hand and walked slowly to Rukia Kuchiki. Every step he took was on smooth ice and snow, but his steps were as steady as if he were stepping on rough ground. The sound of my brother's footsteps was like a countdown to death that struck my heart. With every step closer, Zimu Rukia felt that his so-called death was getting closer. But she was unable to move or resist. Byakuya Kuchiki walked up to her, his emotionless eyes lowered slightly, looking down at her. You try your best, but this is your level. It seems that these years in the Tolerant Division 13 have made you understand. Not only your cultivation, but also your mind has slacked off. You are so stupid that you think you can break prisons and save people with this little strength. Rukia Kuchiki coughed up a mouthful of blood, and bloodline flowed from the corner of her mouth, but there was a smile in her eyes. Brother, some things are not about whether you are strong enough or whether you violate the rules. It's because I have to do it, so I have to do it. Even if you know the result is failure, even if you know the result is death. Why? The faint sound of Byakuya Kuchiki's voice seemed to come from afar. Because, in my eyes, saving the people I cherish is far more important than any rules. Rukia Kuchiki raised the Zanpakuto in her hand, and the next moment her eyes burst into unprecedented light, and Reiatsu condensed. Byakuya Kuchiki was distracted for a moment. The moment he heard those words and saw Rukia Kuchiki's still somewhat immature face, a more mature face appeared in his mind. Although their temperaments were slightly different, they were both equally kind. Woman. So similar to your sister. Puff. A knife penetrated Byakuya Kuchiki's body. This is a transparent knife condensed from crystal ice and snow. It's Rukia Kuchiki's 3 dances. Even though the Zanpakuto in her hand has been broken, as long as her faith remains, the sword remains. Ice and snow are knives. It can stretch infinitely, penetrate all obstacles she wants to pass through, and reach the place she wants to reach. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of Byakuya Kuchiki's mouth, but her body was still so stable. Even if it has been penetrated. But it is still as reserved as a noble, and must never fall. He stretched out his hand and touched the ice and snow blade, and the coldness turned into white frost and spread up, seeming to freeze his fingers. Break it off gently. There was a crisp sound of ice cubes being broken. Then he reached out and grabbed the transparent ice and snow knife, and pulled out his body bit by bit. The transparent ice and snow was also stained with bright red blood. Byakuya Kuchiki's face did not change color at all because of the pain. It was still indifferent, as if he could not feel the pain and fear at all. What's the name of this move? Sanwu White Sword. Rukia Kuchiki replied a little lonely. She still failed in her last move, and she had lost her last strength and fell to the ground, falling into a coma. Byakuya Kuchiki looked at the fallen Rukia, was silent for a moment, and said slowly, "This knife is very beautiful." Unfortunately, this brother's appreciation could not reach Rukia Kuchiki's ears at this moment. But at this moment, a wave of Reiatsu condensed beside Rukia Kuchiki and turned into a human figure. It was Su Chen who arrived in an instant through the rain and dew pomegranate. Without saying a word, he silently picked up Rukia Kuchiki's body. Silently looking at Rukia Kuchiki's broken Zanpakuto, the whole body was covered with small wounds and bleeding continuously. Byakuya Kuchiki also looked at him quietly. Look at Su Chen's actions. The world is so silent at this moment. Su Chen didn't speak, but a questioning light condensed in his hand. In just a moment, all the external injuries on Rukia Kuchiki's body had been healed. Even the broken Zanpakuto had blue spiritual seeds condensed and stretched, and it was restored to its original state. At first, when he saw Su Chen using Kaido, Byakuya Kuchiki's expression was still calm, but when he saw Su Chen using the Spirit Sun to restore Zanpakuto, Byakuya Kuchiki's pupils couldn't help but shrink. What ability is it? Su Chen did not answer, and King Zhao's was still in deep silence. Who are you? Su Chen still didn't answer, but silently picked up Rukia Kuchiki, who had been cured of her injuries. Shunpo left and put her in 10 safe places. Then Shunpo returned to the bridge. Then he raised his eyes and glanced at Byakuya Kuchiki. That look was so peaceful. There didn't seem to be any anger at all. But it made Byakuya Kuchiki feel slightly hairy. This was an unreasonable intuition. The person in front of him was very dangerous. Byakuya Kuchiki's eyes became solemn, completely different from when he fought against Rukia Kuchiki just now. The person in front of me is definitely not an easy person to deal with. Don't worry, the battle between you and me will be over soon. It only takes a moment. Su Chen finally spoke and put his hand on the handle of the knife at his waist. Chapter 95 The Real Culprit Who Killed Aizen. Hinamori Momo's health bar decreased by 1. I probably won't survive, so I want to leave it to you, who I trust the most. I wrote the truth on it. Why must we arrest Su Chen? Why must everyone who slandered Su Chen be executed? During my investigation, I discovered a surprising fact. That is, the purpose of capturing Su Chen was not to kill him. It's about taking something. That thing is Su Chen's Zanpakuto. Su Chen has an extremely terrifying Zanpakuto. Then what Zanpakuto has is not an ordinary ability. It's the Quincy's destruction power. Quote. It is complete death, not Shinigami's purification. If that kind of destructive power breaks out, the consequences will be unimaginable. Those who want to capture Su Chen are trying to destroy the entire Jingalinting Palace, and even the entire Soul Society. That guy with terrible intentions is called Hitsugaya Toshiro. Hitsugaya Toshiro stood there with a confused look on his face, looking at Hinamori Momo who pulled out Zanpakuto against him, with tears on his face. When will I destroy the Seraiti? Want to destroy Soul Society? This black pot is too big. Can I, captain, afford it? There must be some conspiracy. I don't know when. Hinamori Momo broke open the cell door 987 and broke out of the 5th team's prison. That's not surprising. After all, Hinamori Momo has the strength of a deputy captain, and ordinary prisons can't imprison her at all. But what he couldn't believe was, did he write like this? In Aizen's letter. How could Aizen Sosuke write such a letter? That's right. Hinamori Momo was in tears. She didn't expect that he was actually her former friend, intending to destroy Soul Society, capture Su Chen, and kill Captain Aizen. She held Zanpakuto's hand and smiled slightly, trembling. Captain Aizen also wrote later, I will call him to the Great Holy Wall tonight. No matter what, I must stop him. If he still persists in his own way, I have the consciousness to fight him to the death. If I die, Hinamori, Please adhere to my last wish and avenge me. This is my last request. Not as the captain of the 5th Division, but as a person. I am requesting you. At this point, Hinamori Momo couldn't bear it anymore. Endless pain and regret filled her chest, as if her soul was going to be burned out. The hand holding Zanpakuto had never been so hard before, as if Zanpakuto's handle was going to be crushed to pieces. Hinamori Momo slashed at his former friend Hitsugaya Toshiro with an angry sword without mercy. A large amount of Reiatsu exploded, and Hitsugaya Toshiro Shunpo retreated and cursed. Idiot. Hinamori, why don't you think about it carefully? If I die, take revenge for me, is something Aizen would say. Did you say that? The Aizen I know, even if he is going to fight an unprepared battle, he will never let his subordinates deal with the aftermath for him. He is not such a coward. However, what Hitsugaya Toshiro may not have noticed is that Ichimaru Jin standing behind him squinted his eyes and had an unpredictable smile on his face, seemingly watching this scene with interest. But, he clearly wrote it like this, I can't be wrong. It is indeed Captain Aizen's handwriting. Tears flowed out of Hinamori Momo's eyes uncontrollably, holding Zanpakuto tightly with both hands. And, I don't want to believe that this is the truth. But that's what Captain Aizen said. Hinamori Momo cried and waved the Zanpakuto towards Hitsugaya Winter Lion. Hitsugaya Toshiro relied on Shunpo to dodge continuously and did not fight head-on. He looked at the crazy and helpless Hinamori Momo in shock. How painful and struggling she must be in her heart before she chose to turn to herself, the former one. What about friends? Who is he? How dare you play with Hinamori's feelings like this? I absolutely cannot forgive this person. Blue. Captain Aizen. I have, already, don't know, what to do, CGFD Toshiro. Hinamori Momo was choking and crying, and spoke intermittently. Looking at Hinamori Momo's tearful, infinitely sad eyes, Hitsugaya Toshiro's heart felt like it was hit hard by a heavy hammer. Although there was no tear, her heart felt sore and painful for some reason. Sad. Boom. Hinamori Momo slashed at the place where Hitsugaya Toshiro was. Hitsugaya Toshiro jumped into the air and gritted his teeth. DJX. Today Hinamori has fallen into chaos, and there is no way to judge right from wrong. Aizen's death hit her hard. It's impossible for Aizen to write such a letter with his character. Who tampered with Aizen's letter? Damn it. Hitsugaya Toshiro clenched his fists. Who is he? Is the intention to make Hinamori and I kill each other? If I attack Hinamori now, wouldn't I fall into this person's trap? But if I don't take action, Hinamori's attacks will become more violent. At this moment, Hitsugaya Fuyuna, who was in the air, finally saw the figure standing behind him. Ichimaru Jin. Hitsugaya Toshiro's good eyesight clearly captured the elusive and sinister smile at the corner of Ichimaru Jin's narrowed eyes. Suddenly I remembered that when Hinamori Momo attacked Ichimaru Jin, she once said that the last person to get along with Aizen that night was Ichimaru. Is this all your fault? Ichimaru. Hitsugaya Toshiro charged towards Ichimaru Jin, like an eagle swooping down from the sky, mercilessly pulled out the Zanpakuto from behind, struck hard, and slashed towards Ichimaru Jin. However, at this moment, Hinamori Momo suddenly appeared in front of Hitsugaya Toshiro and slashed him with a sword. Hitsugaya Toshiro was suddenly startled, but his angry sword could no longer stop the momentum of slashing. He could only try his best to avoid his body and try not to cut Hinamori Momo's. Puff. The two of them passed each other in the air. Hinamori Momo's petite body was sprayed with bright red blood. Like a withered plum blossom, it fell to the ground and bounced and rolled a few times. The Zanpakuto in her hand also fell out of her hand and lay unconscious on the ground. Hinamori. Hitsugaya Toshiro couldn't help but look back at her fragile body lying on the ground, and shouted with worry. Oh my, you are so cruel. Captain of the 10th Division. Facing a girl who has lost her mind due to pain. You don't have to be so harsh, right? Ichimaru Jin narrowed his eyes and said jokingly. Chapter 96 Sitting in the frosty sky, Hirenmaru. Shoot him, Shinso. Ichimaru. What is your purpose? Hinamori Momo's hands were trembling. In addition to Aizen, does Hina have to end up like this? I would rather have the tiger's mouth broken into pieces and bleed continuously than let go of the knife in my hand. Although Hinamori Momo was lying on the ground sideways, on her slender blood-stained palm was the Zanpaku power that was released at the last moment. What are you talking about? Ichimaru Jin touched his head. I warned you, if anything happens to Hinamori, I will definitely kill you. The next moment, the powerful Reiatsu burst out from the Zanpakuto in the hands of Hitsugaya Toni. It seemed like even the scabbard was melting into pieces in this amazing Reiatsu. Not only the scabbard, but everything around it seems to be destroyed by his Reiatsu. Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes were extremely dangerous as he stared at Ichimaru Jin in front of him. This is not okay. Captain of the 10th Division, since you are taking action here, I have no choice but to stop it. Ichimaru Jin put his hand on the hilt of Zanpakuto, and a powerful Reiatsu also burst out from his body, competing with Hitsugaya Toshiro's Reiatsu. The two people's Reiatsu seemed to be invisible collision in the air. Hira, who was standing behind Ichimaru Jin, couldn't help but said, Ichimaru. Captain. Stay back, Izuru. You should. You don't want to die yet, right? Ichimaru Jin turned around and warned. Stop joking, is it enough to just step back? Disappear, Hira, where I can't see you. Hitsugaya Toshiro straightened his right hand, and Zanpakuto extended it long. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you will die because of being involved. The left hand followed the right hand and tightly grasped the handle of the knife. Holding Zanpakuto in both hands, he jumped up and shouted in midair, sit upright in the frosty sky, Hirenmaru. In an instant, a large amount of Reiatsu burst out, and the powerful Reiatsu turned into an ice-blue giant dragon, hovering in the sky, encompassing Hitsugaya Toshiro, and there were many ice-blue diamond-shaped water shoulders condensed around it. Not only that, the moment the ice-blue dragon appeared, the surrounding sky changed. In an instant, a large amount of Reiatsu turned into dark clouds covering the sky, and it seemed like it was daytime but it suddenly entered night. The atmosphere is rising, and the wind is blowing up the fallen leaves. Hirenmaru has the ability to influence the celestial phenomena, which is called Celestial Phenomenon Follower. He is also one of the few Zanpakuto in Soul Society who can change the celestial environment. Hira Izuru, who stepped aside, looked at this changed scene in shock. The gushing Reiatsu formed water and an ice dragon. Even the celestial phenomena are affected. This is the first time I saw Zanpakuto, the strongest ice and snow type possessed by Captain Hitsugaya, Hirenmaru. If Captain Ryujin Jaka is the strongest in the fire element. As Hitsugaya Toshiro waved his hand, the ice dragon charged towards Ichimaru Jin on the ground. Click, 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 click. After impacting the ground, a huge icicle was formed, and as the ice dragon continued to impact, the ice and snow spread to the surroundings. The surrounding grass turned to ice wherever it was touched. Hira Izuru quickly jumped out of the way. Even so, his body was covered with a layer of ice that was eroding bones and muscles, as if it was freezing his Reiatsu. Hira couldn't help but be shocked. Such a fast speed, such an amazing amount of water, such a large attack range and attack speed, it was impossible to dodge. This blow was not over yet, the next wave of ice and snow came towards us again. Ichimaru Jin stretched out his hand to cut through the ice, but his left hand was also covered with a layer of ice. The next moment, Hitsugaya Toshiro had already Shunpo behind Ichimaru Jin, and the iron chain connected to the handle of his Zanpakuto imprisoned Ichimaru Jin's left hand. It's over, Ichimaru. Hitsugaya Toshiro holds the iron chain in his left hand, and Zanpakuto in his right hand stabs Ichimaru Jin's body. However, faced with this dilemma, Ichimaru Jin did not panic at all. There was still a cold, snake-like smile at the corner of his mouth. Aiming the Zanpakuto in his hand at Hitsugaya Toshiro. Everyone seems to think that how can a short sword like Ichimaru Jin be able to hurt people? Therefore, when being targeted by this short sword, there will be no psychological burden. Shoot him, Shinso. However, in the next moment, the Zanpakuto in Ichimaru Jin's hand, which seemed to be extremely short, suddenly stretched out, like a rapidly extending rainbow light wiping out everything in its path. In just a moment, Shinso had arrived in front of Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes, and the tip of the knife was like a sharp needle, piercing his eyes mercilessly. Hitsugaya Toshiro's pupil suddenly shrank and turned into a black dot. At the critical moment, Hitsugaya Toshiro's Reiatsu seemed to be restless, and his armpits were numb. 10. The body instinctively lay back, slid his feet down, and moved the Zanpakuto toward the top of his head. When the two Zanpakuto intersected, he shifted the path of Ichimaru Jin's Shinso upward, grazing the tip of his nose. Pass. And dripping from the tip of his nose, a drop of sweat that stayed in midair due to inertia was easily pierced by Shinso's blade and split into two halves of the drop, the minister who stayed in midair. Is this okay? If you run away, she will die. The cold smile on the corner of Ichimaru Jin's mouth seemed to be saying this. Hitsugaya Toshiro suddenly felt cold behind him, suddenly realized that behind him too. Not good, Hinamori. However, the next moment, a plump woman with golden curly hair suddenly appeared in front of Hinamori Momo. The Zanpakuto in her hand dinged, blocking the Shinso. 0. None other than Matsumoto Rangaku. Matsumoto Rangaku gave Ichimaru Jin a deep look. If you still want to continue fighting, let me fight you. After seeing Matsumoto Rangaku, Ichimaru Jin still had a smile on his face. After taking back Shinso, he left without looking back. Hey, wait, Ichimaru Jin tilted his head and reminded. Instead of chasing me, why not check the injury of the 5th Division Deputy Captain? The next moment, Ichimaru Jin disappeared from the spot. Watching Ichimaru Jin leave, Matsumoto Rangaku felt much calmer. As for the reason why Ichimaru Jin left her, she already had some guesses from Chen, so now when she faced Jin again, facing Jin's back, she didn't have much attachment in her heart anymore, she just hoped that he be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Division 4. Hitsugaya Toshiro and Matsumoto Rangaku looked at Hinamori Momo, who was receiving treatment. The personnel of the 4th Division said that Hinamori Momo is not seriously ill and will wake up soon. And Hitsugaya Toshiro also added a layer of barrier around Hinamori Momo to prevent any bad people from harming her. Hitsugaya Toshiro looked at Hinamori Momo lying on the bed in front of her, clenching her fists. Matsumoto Rangaku leaned against the door. If the enemy's purpose is to capture Su Chen and obtain the Zanpakuto on him, then the only solution is. Then he turned around and walked towards room 46 without hesitation. However, when the two rushed to Central 46, they saw a scene that shocked them. Chapter 97 We are like the fireworks that are destined to scatter after being extremely gorgeous. December. Matsumoto Rangaku was sitting on the sofa, eating biscuits on the table in his squad, when he heard someone talking about his birthday. Turning around with her plump chest, she saw Hinamori Momo, and she seemed to have prepared some gift in her hand, with a cute bow carefully tied on it. Thanks. Matsumoto Rangaku quickly turned around, knelt on the sofa, and stretched out his hands to hold the gift. Unexpectedly, Hinamori Momo hid the gift behind her back with a wave of her hands. Miss Rangaku, your birthday is in September and has already been celebrated. This is for Toshiro. 1. Matsumoto Rangaku rested his chin on the back of the sofa and said with a stern face, Captain's birthday. That's right. You didn't prepare anything, right? Hinamori Momo tried hard to hide the gift behind herself to prevent Matsumoto Rangaku from stealing it. 243. Hitsugaya Toshiro found a document in the butler's office. When he picked it up after falling asleep, it turned out to be Matsumoto Rangaku's handwriting. It says, at 9 o'clock in the evening, please be sure to come to the roof of the training ground west of the team building. Then he looked at the documents to be processed that were stacked higher than a person on top of Matsumoto Rangaku's workstation, and veins flashed on his forehead. Where did that guy go if he didn't work hard? But Hitsugaya Toshiro has become accustomed to this. When he was still the third seat of the 10th division, Shiba decided to pass the captaincy to him. At that time, Matsumoto Rangaku even raised objections and said, obviously the position should be passed to me according to the order. Hitsugaya Toshiro and Shiba Yishin both squinted their eyes and said angrily, if I pass the position of captain to you, the team will definitely collapse. 9 p.m. The moment Hitsugaya Toshiro climbed onto the roof. I found out that Matsumoto Rangaku was not the only one, but also Suamori and Aizen. Quote. On this cold winter day, in addition to wearing either the Death Boss uniform or Captain Haori, several people also wore various colored scarves around their necks. Hinamori Momo, wrapped in a pink scarf, said, hey. Should you call Captain Aizen? Hitsugaya. Hitsugaya Toshiro straightened the scarf around his neck and said angrily, then you should also call me Captain Hitsugaya. Why did you call me here? Hitsugaya Toshiro asked. Captain, today is your birthday, look. Matsumoto Rangaku pointed to the sky. Hitsugaya Toshiro looked up, and with the sound of firecrackers exploding, a round of colorful fireworks spread out in the sky of Seraiti. In such a night sky, a kind of eye-catching Weibo appeared. The fireworks in winter are beautiful. It would be amazing if it snowed a little more. Matsumoto Rangaku praised. Hitsugaya Toshiro hid his chin and nose under the scarf, only exposing his eyes. I just feel cold, idiot. Aizen Sosuke, who was sitting on the roof, turned his head and glanced at Hitsugaya Toshiro. Congratulations, Hitsugaya. Hitsugaya Toshiro said quietly. For us who are born in Rukongai, birthdays are optional, and it's not like the nobles born in Seraiti. In fact, it's the same, because everyone doesn't know who they are. How students? Aizen Sosuke looked at the fireworks in front of him, his eyes hidden under his glasses. It doesn't matter if it's correct or not. Just knowing when your birthday is very happy in itself. If that day comes, thank you Hinamori, thank you Aizen, and Matsumoto, we don't want to disappear like fireworks, but keep shining too. However, at this moment, Hitsugaya Toshiro suddenly realized. They were like the fireworks that rose that day. After reaching their peak and being extremely gorgeous, they were destined to scatter. When Hitsugaya Toshiro and Matsumoto Rangaku deal with the secret guards guarding the 46th room. When I arrived at room 46, I saw a hell-like scene. I saw that the originally solemn room 46 seemed to have turned into a cemetery at this moment, with corpses and blood everywhere. The two of them stared at this scene with their eyes wide open. Can't believe that Central 46, the highest judicial body of Soul Society power, is in such a miserable state now. You must know that whether it is Soul Society or the present world, the crimes committed by Shinigami are judged by the 46 chambers. If the judgment requires the use of force, orders will be issued to the secret mobile team, the host and Gote 13. And once a ruling is made, even the captain cannot have any objections. But now in the 46 rooms in front of them, all of them were killed. The tragedy and blood of the 46 corpses seemed to turn this place into a hell. Who is it? Who is he? How could he do such a shocking thing? Hitsugaya Toshiro stepped forward and touched the blood on the table. The blood has dried, and turned black. Should have been dead for a while. When was he killed? Logically speaking, no one is allowed to approach room 46. Until he and Matsumoto Rangaku broke in here just now and eliminated the secret guard at the door, nothing unusual happened. Who did it? Is it Ichimaru? No. He alone could not kill all the 46th chamber without being noticed. Could it be that he has some accomplices? You are indeed here, Captain Hitsugaya. Hitsugaya Toshiro turned around and saw that the person standing at the door was Kira Izuru. All this couldn't be done, right? Kira. Although Hitsugaya Toshiro also felt that it was ridiculous to accomplish all this with Kira Izuru's strength, Kira Izuru, who happened to appear here at this moment, had to be suspicious. However, Kira Yi didn't say much and immediately turned around and left. Hurry up and chase. Hitsugaya Toshiro and Matsumoto Rangaku gave chase. The person who killed the person in room 46, was it you? Kira Izuru tilted her head and replied. No, I just opened the lock so that you can enter it. Who asked you to let us in? 2.1. Does this need to be said? Of course it's room 46. Kira Izuru said. Are you kidding? Kira. Hitsugaya Toshiro gritted his teeth. Is it really okay for you to do this? Rather than chasing me, shouldn't you protect Hinamori? Kira suddenly said. Hitsugaya Toshiro was suddenly startled. What did you say? She has already left. Captain Hitsugaya, you have set up a barrier in the room where Hinamori sleeps. It is a high-level barrier, mirror gate worker, that will reflect external attacks. So you can leave Hinamori with peace of mind, but that barrier can be easily destroyed from the inside. And Hinamori, who is good at Kido, also opened a barrier around him to eliminate Reiatsu. That's why you didn't notice it, right? Hinamori has been following you all this time. Chapter 98 Farewell, Hinamori. Hitsugaya Toshiro was suddenly startled and had no time to say anything more. Matsumoto. After seeing Matsumoto Rangaku nodding, he immediately rushed towards the direction of room 46. Hinamori. Don't let anything happen. At this moment, Hinamori Momo stood at the door of room 46, holding the wall with his left hand, looking at the horrific scene in front of him. How could it happen? Everyone in room 46 was killed. No one survived. Hitsugaya. He was very shocked. And Kira was there. Then Hitsugaya chased after him. What's going on? If Captain Aizen was killed by Hitsugaya, were those 46 rooms also killed by Hitsugaya? But Kira. Why is she here? TBK. Hinamori Momo felt that her brain was in chaos at the moment. If Captain Aizen can be resurrected and appear next to him, he will definitely be able to solve all mysteries with his superb wisdom. It's a pity that Captain Aizen will never come back. At this moment, a pair of footsteps quietly approached Hinamori Momo's back. It wasn't until the man's shadow enveloped Hinamori Momo that she suddenly realized. Welcome 26. Hinamori. The man approached Hinamori Momo's ear and said this. But his voice did not make Hinamori Momo feel any warmth. Instead, it wrapped around her like a cold lion majesty, making her heart seem to be eroded. Follow me. Why are you bringing me here? This is the Purity Pavilion, the living area of room 46. Why are you bringing me here? Captain Ichimaru. Hinamori Momo's hands were on her chest. He was dressed as a dead bully and followed Ichimaru Jin with some confusion. Have you been here before? Hinamori. Ichimaru Jin asked without looking back. Hinamori Momo walked up the long stairs and said, How come? Isn't it forbidden to enter here? This is my first time here. I want you to meet someone. Ichimaru Jin opened the door, and Morito followed him into the room. I saw that the interior here is extremely spacious. Ichimaru Jin stood in the shadow of the room, while he stood in the rectangular sunlight cut after the door was opened. Ichimaru Jin turned around and said, Okay. You can look back. Later, Hinamori Momo turned around and looked back in confusion. However, the figure reflected in her clear pupils was so tall and familiar. Captain Haori was dressed in white and black-rimmed glasses, with a gentle smile at the corner of his mouth. Hinamori Momo's eyes widened little by little. She could hardly believe her eyes. How can it be? How could the person standing in front of him be that person? BK. Could all this be my imagination? The moment he touches Captain Aizen's body, he will penetrate through it as if passing through mist. But even if it was her own hallucination, she hoped that this beautiful hallucination could stay longer. Her legs had moved unconsciously, and her hands were trembling as she approached the familiar figure. He stood under the sun, so confident. He moved closer to him and closer to the warm sunshine. Even his already cold body and cold heart became warmer bit by bit, as if he had fallen into desperate people in the dark water see a little light, a hope. Then I finally heard his voice that warmed my heart like the warm sun. Long time no see, sleepy peon. Quote. Is it really? Captain Aizen. Hinamori Momo stretched out his hands tremblingly. Aren't you dead? Don't worry, I'm alive and well. Aizen Sosuke's tone was calm, and there was no trace of any fluctuation or emotion. But being able to hear Captain Aizen's voice in Hinamori Momo's ears is already an extremely happy thing. She staggered forward a few steps, and her trembling hands entangled Haori, the captain of Aizen Sosuke. The softness and warmth of Haori was still so kind. Tears fell from his eyes. Aizen, Captain. Hinamori Momo felt Captain Aizen stretch out his broad palm and touch his hair. Perhaps because of holding a knife all the time, there were hard calluses on the tiger's mouth of Captain Aizen's palm, which rubbed against his soft hair. It was above, but it didn't make people feel uncomfortable. On the contrary, it was very warm, allowing her to confirm. Ah, this is Captain Aizen's hand. As before, I easily cleansed my mind. She would never forget that day, when Captain Aizen also stroked her head to comfort her restless heart. That day was supposed to be a soul burial internship. I participated in it with Abarai Renji and Kira Izuru, and was led by Hisagi Shuhei Senpai. But I didn't expect to encounter a powerful hollow in the middle. After I finally killed one, many more appeared. Only. Just when he was desperate, Captain Aizen appeared and touched his head with his broad palm. Suddenly all the uneasiness in his heart disappeared. He looked at Captain Aizen blankly. As long as Captain Aizen was there, I am not afraid of any difficulties ahead. This time will definitely be like that day. Hinamori Momo couldn't help but shed tears, really. Captain Aizen. Holding the clothes on Aizen Sosuke's chest tightly with both hands, he gently leaned his head on it and cried. She could feel Captain Aizen's broad palm patting her back, and said softly, "You have lost weight. I'm so sorry, I didn't expect that I would hurt you so deeply. But please do you believe? I have my own reasons. It doesn't matter. I don't care anymore. As long as you are alive, Captain Aizen, I don't care about anything." Hinamori Momo leaned on Captain Aizen's chest. But what she didn't see was the inexplicable smile on Aizen Sosuke's lips. If she could raise her eyes, she would be able to see Aizen Sosuke's smile at this moment, and she would be able to realize that this moment was not as warm as usual but instead revealed 10 kinds of faint amusement. Feeling. Thank you, Hinamori. It's great to have you as my subordinate. Thank you very much. Quote. Quote. Next moment, Hinamori seemed to have lost all feeling. The originally colorful world turned into a blank. The knife that penetrated the soul should have been extremely painful and heartbreaking, but at this moment it was as gentle as the breeze and raindrops. She could no longer feel pain. She no longer feels pain. There seemed to be something wet and sticky flowing down from his back. The hilt of the knife with green silk thread inserted into his chest. That familiar broad palm. Following the strong arms, bit by bit, we can see the face of Captain Aizen, but at this moment, Captain Aizen looks so unfamiliar. Chapter 99 Aizen takes action and kills Captain Bankai with one strike. Aizen Sosuke pulled out Zanpakuto, and Hinamori Momo's body slowly slipped. There was no smile on Aizen Sosuke's face at this moment. Some are just as indifferent and heartless as gods. It seemed like nothing in the world could cause him any fluctuations. Said to Ichimaru Jin, "Let's go. Jin, it's Lord Aizen." The captain's haori worn by the two men floated, and the words 3 and 5 written in ink on the white haori seemed to finally be freed from their bodies. Hinamori Momo fell in a pool of blood, watching the two people leave with her unfocused eyes that seemed to be broken. In her eyes, she could only see their feet in white socks, and left without any hesitation. She was just deeply puzzled and confused in her heart. Couldn't believe it, someone must have controlled Captain Aizen. Then she could no longer hold on and fell into a coma, but her hands were still holding tightly, as if she wanted to keep someone. The two of them had just stepped out of the door when they saw an unexpected figure. "Hi, Hitsugaya." Aizen Sosuke said hello casually. Hitsugaya Tashiro's eyes widened like ice crystals, deeply shocked. "Ichimaru. Aizen. How come Aizen is with Ichimaru?" And it seems that Ichimaru is one step behind Aizen. The relationship between the two seems to be based on Aizen. How could this happen? Are you, really Aizen? Hitsugaya Tashiro couldn't help but ask. Of course, you have seen it. Of course you can't fake it. Don't you believe what you saw with your own eyes? Aizen Sosuke put his hands in his sleeves. This gesture meant that it would take longer to get out of Zanpakuto, but he didn't care at all. "Captain Hitsugaya, it seems you arrived a little earlier than expected." Ichimaru Jin said. "Sorry, it seems that Izuru didn't delay long." "No. Although there is a slight error, it is just right now. The other captains are not here, so we can deal with the enemy Hitsugaya first." Aizen Sosuke smiled softly. Hitsugaya Tashiro felt as if his heart had been hammered, and his head was confused. "You said, enemy. Where is Hinamori?" Hitsugaya Tashiro did not forget the purpose of his coming. Just then, he felt a faint but familiar Reiatsu behind Aizen Sosuke and Ichimaru Jin. In an instant, Shunpo was in the room behind Aizen Sosuke and Ichimaru Jin. "I saw the delicate girl lying in a pool of blood. Her eyes were dull at the moment, but her hands still seemed to be holding something tightly." Hitsugaya Tashiro looked at the scene in front of him in shock. What happened? What's going on here? Did Aizen do it? Or Ichimaru? "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. In order not to make you sad, I should chop her into pieces, at least not to let you find out." Quote. Hitsugaya Tashiro slowly clenched his fists. "Although there is boundless anger in my heart." But his tone became increasingly cold. "When did you conspire, Ichimaru and Aizen? From the beginning. Before you pretended to be dead. Don't you understand yet? From the beginning." Hitsugaya Tashiro was suddenly shocked. Aizen Sosuke's plan started much earlier than he thought. To put it this way, from the beginning, not only Hina, but also me, your subordinates, and all the Shinigami, were all deceived by you, right? Actually, I don't want to lie, it's just that none of you can understand what I really look like, except for him, of course. Aizen Sosuke's face is hidden in shadow, making it difficult to see clearly. Hitsugaya Toshiro doesn't understand what Aizen Sosuke means by his true appearance, let alone who the he Aizen Sosuke refers to. She just lowered her head and suppressed the anger in her chest and said, "You should know. Hinamori admires you very much. She joined Gote 13 because she admires you. In order to be able to help you, I worked very hard and finally became the vice captain. Of course I know. No one is easier to control than admiration, that's why I chose her as my subordinate. Hitsugaya, you have to remember, admiration it's the emotion furthest from understanding." Seeing the careless smile on Aizen Sosuke's lips, carelessly playing with Hinamori's feelings, the boundless anger in Hitsugaya Toshiro's chest seemed to burn his heart to scorched earth, and he could no longer bear it. Hold the handle of the knife tightly with your right hand and output with all your strength. Boom 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 boom. The powerful Reiatsu explodes, destroying everything in sight. Captain-level Reiatsu was released unreservedly at this moment. With an angry slash, the house dozens of meters high behind him shattered into pieces. A large amount of gravel rolled down, and in the smoke and dust, a sound came out very clearly. Bankai. Daiguren Hirenmaru. From his right hand holding the knife, ice crystal spread up his arm bit by bit, like sunlight climbing up his body. It spread all the way to his back, and then his wings spread out, and two huge ice dragon wings extended from his back. A lot of cold air has turned the current summer into a winter of ice and snow. There are dozens of huge pillars around. These pillars are as thick as several people's arms. At this moment, the ice crystals are climbing up, as if they are freezing these pillars. 12 red lotus petals were suspended behind him, forming the main ice crystal lotus. The arm holding the knife was completely covered in dragon-shaped ice crystals. Call. He breathed out softly, and the extremely cold power of that breath actually condensed the water vapor in the weather into white frost. However, such ice power could not calm down the anger in his chest. Hitsugaya Toshiro stared at Aizen Sosuke closely, with a dangerous look in his eyes. Wangzhao's Aizen. I'm going to kill you. Aizen Sosuke said calmly. Don't say it so harshly, it will make you look less confident. Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyebrows condensed into the character, Chuan, with all his strength, and he slashed at Aizen Sosuke with one knife. Righto. Next moment, a large amount of bloodline burst out from his chest, as if weaving a bloody garment. The blood spurted out too fast. Even the sound of blood spurting out fell behind. Hitsugaya Toshiro's consciousness paused for a moment. The overflowing anger in his chest also cooled down instantly. Even Daiguren Hirenmaru didn't freeze his anger. But this knife, just like blowing out an insignificant flame, the anger was easily extinguished. How? How could it be? Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes were filled with deep astonishment, and he froze on the spot. Chapter 100 Su Chen takes action and kills instantly with the White Emperor's sword. Bankai. Senbon Sakura Kujiyoshi. Byakuya Kuchiki turned the Zanpakuto upside down in his hand and then let go. The tip of the Zanpakuto knife pointed downwards and fell down straight. The ground rippled like water waves, and Zanpakuto sank into the ground as if passing through running water. Then two rows of huge blades tens of meters high rose from around Byakuya Kuchiki. After sensing the threat from Su Chen, Byakuya Kuchiki immediately used his Bankai. And the moment he used Bankai, the powerful Reiatsu turned into those huge blades, and the blades scattered and drifted like sakura flowers. There were hundreds of millions of blades. You should understand what Bankai means. Byakuya Kuchiki's voice was light, and his eyes showed an emotionless indifference. That is something that only a Shinigami who has reached the pinnacle can learn, the ultimate secret of Zanpakuto. Even among the four great nobles in Shinigami, who are born with transcendent Reiatsu, only one person who can reach this state will appear in several generations. Those who can reach this level, without exception, will forever leave their names in the history of Soul Society. I would like to remind you in advance. If you don't use the Zukage White Emperor's sword as the first move, you will never have the chance to use it again. Su Chen put his hand on the Zanpakuto's handle, said softly. What did you say? Byakuya Kuchiki was stunned for a moment, but the next moment he felt a large amount of blood spurting out from his 330 chest. There was a pop, and the blood turned his clothes red. And Su Chen was already standing behind him with her sword put away. At this moment Byakuya Kuchiki realized with facts what Su Chen just said. His body staggered a few times. Although the knife on his body was deeply visible to the bone, as a noble man, he could only die standing and could not live on his knees, so he did not fall down. However, compared to this, he was deeply shocked. How can it be? How could he be killed instantly with one knife? Even his own Bankai Senbon Sakura Kujiyoshi had no time to defend himself. This person goes in and out of the sky full of swords, just like strolling in a garden. Just now, I only saw an afterimage with my own sight, and I had no time to react. Such a fast speed, such a powerful attack. Who is this person? Who are you? Didn't you notice the big Kido-length costume I'm wearing? Byakuya Kuchiki had already seen the big black Kido-long feather fabric on Su Chen's body. But because I saw that all Su Chen used were slashing techniques, I didn't think he was a great Kido leader. CGFH. Then he coughed up a mouthful of blood and said with a smile, when did the great when did he possess such a powerful slicing technique, Shunpo? Generally speaking, a person who can become a great Kido leader must at least be able to quickly chant various powerful Kido numbers 90, and even some forbidden technique. Therefore, all their energy is spent on Kido, and they cannot have too much time for the practice of Danjutsu. It is unheard of for someone like Su Chen, who has reached such a peak in both Zanjutsu and Shunpo, to become a great Kido. Final scene. Beiti Sword. As Byakuya Kuchiki finished speaking, he stretched out his hand. A wave of Reiatsu gathered in his hand like a wind and lingering cloud. At this moment, not only the bridge, but also the sky and the earth were shaken by this Reiatsu. The final scene. Beiti Sword is the final form of Kaiban. Blade after blade gathered on Byakuya Kuchiki's arm. Hundreds of millions of blades condensed into a giant bird, and emitted a strong white light. It looks like spread wings. When using this move, you can fly and slash your opponent with one blow. The power is amazing. Su Chen was a little surprised. I didn't expect you to still have the strength to use this move. Byakuya Kuchiki was silent for a while. No. If your knife goes deeper, you will take my life. But my body Gote 13, the captain of the 6th division, the 4 major, the head of the Kuchiki family, the head of the nobility, as long as he is alive, he will never fall. You may be Rukia's friend. That's why I'll help her. But as the head of the Kuchiki family, I know that this Seraiti, this soul society, cannot do without rules. Of course I saw that Rukia was seriously injured, but I didn't mean to take action. If there are no rules, I can't imagine how the nobles will degenerate, and how the soul society will degenerate. Perhaps it will be a scene more terrifying than hell. As the head of the Kuchiki family, the head of the 4 nobles, the model for the entire Seraiti, and the entire soul society, if even I break the rules, who else will abide by them? So, I can't fall down, let alone let you leave with Rukia. The White Emperor sword in Byakuya Kuchiki's hand became larger and larger, and the petals around it continued to condense, as if it had turned into a white giant eagle that was tens of meters long, covering the sky. There is nothing wrong with what you said. Su Chen looked up at a place on the edge of the sky, which was the direction of room 46. He seemed to sense something, and looked at Byakuya Kuchiki in front of him again. The rules, it is indeed very important, especially as the head of the Kuchiki family, one of the 4 nobles, you should abide by the rules. But, some rules have fallen behind. Rules are not created out of thin air, but they exist for the sake of justice in people's hearts, so the rules are not static. Byakuya Kuchiki smiled with some relief. Maybe what you said is right. Let me use this move of the White Emperor's sword and the victory or defeat of this battle to prove who is right and who is wrong. The next moment, it turned into a ray of light and rushed towards Su Chen. And Su Chen also liberated the spiritual book in his hand. Everything will turn into ashes. Ryujin Jaka. Next moment. A large amount of Reiatsu turned into terrifying high-temperature flames colliding with the Imperial sword. Red and white. It turned into 2 wings. Fill the sky. After the 2 Reiatsu collided, it turned into ripples that spread out in circles. The entire bridge shattered. The prison behind Byakuya Kuchiki. The mountain wall behind Su Chen. They were all shattered by the impact of the powerful Reiatsu. After the powerful Reiatsu collided, it turned into a circular shock wave, 1 red and 1 white. The Reiatsu even pushed away the clouds and mist in the sky. At this moment, Rukia Kuchiki has woken up from the top of the mountain. He found that his injuries and Zanpakuto had been repaired. It's Su Chen. Her eyes burst into sparkling light. Saw Su Chen on the bridge. It turns out that Su Chen has escaped from prison. Then I saw my brother actually using Bankai. Just when I was about to stop it. Unexpectedly, Su Chen defeated his elder brother with a single blow. How? How is it possible? Su Chen is so powerful. Chapter 101 Su Chen's strength exposed, amazing power. Then I saw my elder brother and Su Chen drawing swords at each other. What was even more unexpected was that my elder brother actually released the Zongjing Beiti sword. I have only heard of this trick and have never seen my brother perform it. And the 2 released such powerful power. In the face of that kind of power, he is like a weak human being in a tsunami, and may be destroyed at any time. Is this my brother's power? Also, when did Su Chen possess such terrifying strength? Su Chen's Reiatsu has at least reached the captain level. Rukia Kuchiki couldn't help but feel shocked. Su Chen was a freshman who just joined Spiritual Arts Academy a few days ago. At that time, she was even his Kido teacher. She didn't expect that Su Chen would become so powerful in such a short period of time. Now that he has become a great Kido leader, his level of circumambulation is probably far beyond his own. And he also has a captain-level Reiatsu. He even displayed the Commander-in-Chief's Shikai Ryujin Jaka. What kind of terrifying ability is this? Is he really still a Shinigami? Are you sure it's not some kind of monster? Byakuya Kuchiki was also shocked. He didn't expect that the boy could actually use Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni's Shikai. The power of the flames reminded him of the suffocating feeling when facing Captain Yamamoto. Who is he? You won. My sword is broken. You can take Rukia. I'm no longer obsessed with stopping you. Puff. Byakuya Kuchiki coughed out a mouthful of blood and slowly fell downwards. There was the whistling wind in my ears and blood flowing in front of my eyes. However, Byakuya Kuchiki's heart was neither sad nor sad. For him, those useless emotions must have been abandoned long ago. At this moment, a crisp voice sounded. Brother. Rukia Kuchiki Shunpo jumped into the air, picked up Byakuya Kuchiki, and took him to the top of a mountain. Then he put down Byakuya Kuchiki, who was covered in bloodline, and released Kaido light with his hands to treat Byakuya Kuchiki. Byakuya Kuchiki smiled and said, I can't die. Rukia Kuchiki was stunned for a moment. Brother, actually smiled. She couldn't remember the last time she saw her brother smile. I just remember that Byakuya Kuchiki never seemed to smile. It's just that I'm injured, I'm afraid I'll have to recover for a while. There are some things I want to make it clear to you. Rukia Kuchiki nodded. Brother, I'm listening. The spring of 50 years ago, before the first plum blossom bloomed that year. My wife, Kuchiki Hyjin, passed away, and she is actually your sister. What? Rukia Kuchiki's eyes widened. The sister she had been looking for turned out to be her eldest brother's wife. Byakuya Kuchiki continued. Hisama, after she died in this world with you, she came to the Inazuri district of Rukongai, but she really couldn't live with you there alone. I had no choice but to leave you at that age and run away. Feijun is very regretful about this matter. During the 5 years since she became my wife, she has been searching for your whereabouts every day. Later in the spring of that year, she held my hand before she died and begged me, Mr. Byakuya, please be sure to find my sister. After you find her, don't tell me who she is. Her sister. Don't let her know the truth. I just need you, Byakuya-sama, to try your best to protect my sister. I abandoned her at the beginning, and I am not qualified to let her call her sister, so I hope that she being able to call Byakuya-sama my elder brother. I'm really sorry for bothering you until the end. Byakuya-sama's love for me, I really can't repay. The 5 years I spent with Byakuya-sama years are like a dream to Feijun. And after many years, I found you and brought the common people of Rukongai into the Kuchiki family, the head of the 4 nobles. This would degrade the reputation of the Kuchiki family. So I was opposed by the family. Actually, I already violated it once when I married Feijun. So after I brought you into my home, I swore in front of my parents' graves that I would never break the rules a third time. At this time, a messenger butterfly came to the 2 of them. After investigation, Su Chen was found not guilty. It was Tsunaya Daihucho who deliberately mobilized secret guards to frame Su Chen. He has been executed now. The Tsunayashiro family. When Su Chen heard the news, he glanced in the direction of the Tsunayashiro family and chuckled. It seems to be Tsunayashiro Riku's handiwork. After hearing this, Byakuya Kuchiki said, that young man just now must be Su Chen. He is very good and very strong. I can feel that in the battle with me, he did not use his full strength. I'm very happy that you are with him. ... With him protecting you, I can feel more at ease. Rukia Kuchiki's face turned red. Brother, what are you talking nonsense about? Why should he protect me? I can also protect him. Room 46. Look at the ice and snow spreading on the pillars, walls, and ground. Aizen Sosuke praised. The scenery is nice. Although it's not the season yet, it's nice to be able to see the ice at this time. Then let's go. Just as Aizen Sosuke didn't even look at the fallen Hitsugaya Toshiro, he was about to leave. At this moment, Unohana Retsu and Katetsu Aizen walked in through the door. Your time is here, Captain Aizen. No, I shouldn't be able to call you Captain now, the treacherous sinner, Aizen Sosuke. .00. Aizen Sosuke smiled lightly and said, Captain Unohana. Hello. The door of room 46 was shattered. Unohana Retsu and Katetsu Aizen saw Aizen Sosuke suddenly raise his hand, and naturally he was holding an Aizen Sosuke in his hand. Aizen Sosuke's eyes were reflected in the mirror. Your judgment is very good, but you are wrong about one thing, it is not a corpse doll. Next moment. What is going on? Katetsu Aizen asked in confusion. When? I've had it in my hand from the beginning. Aizen Sosuke said. The 2 of them couldn't help but widen their eyes. What's the situation? Why are there 2 Aizen Sosuke? Unohana Retsu put his hands before his lower abdomen. I didn't expect that you would go to such great lengths to make a corpse doll like that. In addition to killing the 46th chamber, do you have any other terrible plans? You will soon understand. Break into pieces, Kyoka Suigetsu. A Shikai who meets me once will become my puppet from that moment on, and will be at my mercy when I free Kyoka Suigetsu again. You seem to have discovered. Yes, that means blind people cannot hypnosis. In other words, Tusen Kanami has been my subordinate from the beginning. The next moment, the corpse in Aizen Sosuke's hand turned into a Zanpakuto, which fell as he let go and penetrated into the ground. +1. My Zanpakuto, Kyoka Suigetsu. Its ability is complete hypnosis. 9. Only seen once. Unohana Retsu asked. Chapter 102 Team 0 is shocked, beyond the existence of Zanpakuto. Although Team Zero is suspended high in the sky, Team Zero, which is located under the Soul King's inner palace, is isolated from the Soul Society below. But Team Zero is not blind to everything that happens in Soul Society. Like the current betrayal of Aizen Sosuke, the revelation of killing all 46 rooms. As well as Su Chen's purge of the Tsunayashiro family, which severely damaged the vitality of the Tsunayashiro family, one of the four nobles, and various major events that affected the history of Soul Society, Team Zero is also aware of it. At this moment, everyone from Team Zero is gathering together to watch the video data. In the image, room 46 was filled with blood, and the blood had dried up. He cynically held the straw in his mouth, shaking it slightly from time to time. He had a long and pointed, 430, hairstyle that extended from his forehead like an airplane head, and he was not wearing a Black Death uniform. But Kirinji Tenshiro, who was wearing a long-sleeved and short-sleeved haori, with his shirt open to reveal his strong chest, said, "Oh my. This Aizen Sosuke is really treasonous, he actually killed all the 46th chamber. Kill." Shutara Senjumaru, an elegant woman with side-parted black hair and bangs, complicated golden hair accessories, and a white shawl with buckles, has a beautiful appearance, pale skin, and 6 skeleton arms. He solemnly said, "I'm afraid this person's plan goes beyond that. Killing the 46th chamber is probably just the beginning of his plan. But the Gote 13 matter is our responsibility. Our responsibility is to protect the palace, and we will not take action unless absolutely necessary." Ikibe Hayasube with a bald head said, "Have you noticed that Aizen Sosuke defeated Hitsugaya Toshiro with just one sword? This shows that Aizen Sosuke's Reiatsu is terrifyingly strong, and he can possess it with just one ordinary sword. With the ability to instantly kill Captain Bankai, what kind of purpose would such a character have?" As he spoke, he looked away from Spirit King Donili. There, the human stick Spirit King was in the blue spirit amber. If the terrifying power around him had not been used to stabilize the 3 realms, he could have easily destroyed everything. Even so, a little overflow of his supreme power can make everyone in Lingbanli Temple far away feel awe in their hearts. Their strength, everything inside this palace, and Fanli Palace were shaped by the Spirit King Liku. The spells operated by those spirit sons are the power of God created out of nothing. Facing such a terrifyingly powerful Spirit King, it's no wonder that the Tsunayashiro family has trouble sleeping and eating. After all, even if they are as weak as ants in front of the Soul King, if the Soul King has the intention to destroy the nobles, he will not even need to snap his fingers to destroy the Tsunayashiro family. Song Yao's 10 thoughts will be the same. It's a pity that such a powerful king has now ended up with a stick, unable to live or die, infinitely resurrected and infinitely dead. Nigea Wang, who had black punk curly hair that was partly above the neck length, said, "Even if Aizen Sosuke's goal is to be the Soul King, as long as we exist, Aizen Sosuke cannot succeed. After all, no one can break through our defense." As he spoke, he would shake his head and shake his legs from time to time, like a star in a music venue. "You'd better not take it too lightly." Healing Temple Tianshulang appeared behind Wang Yu in the next moment. After Nigea Wang Yu saw this kind of movement, he couldn't help but stretched out the fingers of both hands and pointed at him and said, "Tisk, tisk, tisk, it is indeed Shinigami who was once known as Thunder Tenshiro. This speed is probably far faster than it is now. Sui Feng, captain of the 2nd Division. It's just a little trick." Healing Temple Tianshulang held the straw in his mouth and smiled. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw the scene of Su Chen killing Byakuya Kuchiki with one knife. Even Byakuya Kuchiki's Senbon Sakura Kajiyoshi had no time to react. The moment he saw this scene, the straw stick that Tianshulang of Kirin Temple had been holding in his mouth fell, but he did not notice it. Because he had always taken it lightly before, but now he was deeply shocked. Just now, did you see clearly what the young man did?" Ermea Wang Yu also put away the joking style on his face, his expression seemed to be frozen, and he said blankly, You, as the Thunder God, didn't even see clearly, how can I see clearly?" Shutara Senjumaru frowned and said coldly, "Who is that boy? He can be so fast. Not to mention Shihuen Yoruichi, who is known as the Flash Goddess, I can't even see his movements clearly." Ikibe Hayasube was not shocked by Su Chen's speed, but by something deeper. At that moment, he seemed to see Su Chen's Zanpakuto, but in his mind, in his impression, there was no name of that Zanpakuto at all. How is this possible? Is this something that has never happened in 100 years? It should be something that is impossible to happen, right? After all, everything in Soul Society is named after him. Ikibe Hayasube looked shocked for the first time, and his voice trembled a little. For the first time, he felt that something was beyond the capabilities of their Zero Division. Play it backwards. The Shinigami who controlled the image played it backwards for no apparent reason. He didn't understand. Is there anything in front of him that should shock everyone? So he explained. This boy's name is Su Chen. He's just a little Shinigami who just graduated from the Spiritual Arts Academy. Go a little further. Pour a little more. Quote. Seeing Ikibe Hayasube's serious body, which was so serious that even his fat body was trembling a little, as if he was a little cold. Other members of the Zero Division were also surprised, although they didn't understand why. Only Ermeiwu Wang Yu seemed to have happened, staring closely at the blurry shadow of the knife in Su Chen's hand. Ermeiwu Wang Yu took off his glasses, his expression became extremely serious, and he carefully looked at the tool in Su Chen's hand that didn't look much different from the sealed state. Kirin Temple Tenshiro looked left and right. Although he didn't understand what happened, the atmosphere seemed to be extremely solemn. The last time he was so solemn was thousands of years ago or a few 10,000 years ago. He couldn't remember clearly. What's the situation? What's going on? You are so serious that I dare not speak. Chapter 103 The Terrifying Su Chen, Beyond All Shinigami's Abilities. Ermeiwu Wang Yu knows the location of every sealed state he builds. But after seeing the knife in Su Chen's hand, for something like that in Su Chen's hand, Nigaya Wang Yu didn't know if it could still be regarded as a zanpakuto, so he could only use knife or sword. When he saw the knife in Su Chen's hand, or even when he saw Byakuya Kuchiki being chopped, he didn't realize a problem. Perhaps it was because he had never encountered such a problem before, so he ignored it just now. That's him, the god of swords, Nikaya Watsu, the forger of all zanpakuto in Soul Society. There's no one in Soul Society who doesn't use what he forged. People in the sealed state can't sense the position of the knife in Su Chen's hand. Even in his consciousness, Su Chen's hands were like nothingness. Otherwise, if he could see it with both eyes, he would not be able to determine whether there was a knife there or whether there was a knife. As this person the one who caused the sealed state with unlimited potential to collapse. Hearing this, Kirin Temple Tenshiro, who was still confused about the situation just now, was dumbfounded. What did you say? What sealed state collapses? Doesn't the sealed state have unlimited potential? How could it possibly collapse? Nigaya Wang Yu said solemnly. Theoretically, the sealed state is indeed the strongest zanpakuto with infinite potential, but this infinity is not the real infinity. It also exists. The upper limit is just that for 110,000 years, no Shinigami has ever been able to reach this upper limit, so it's just called infinite. And now, someone has broken this upper limit, but he is the only one who has broken this upper limit. His potential has surpassed the sealed state, and even surpassed the concept of Shinigami. Quote. I don't know how terrible his potential is to be able to do this. This is beyond anything I could have imagined. For a person with such potential, heaven-defying acts such as creating spells may be easy for him. At this time, Heilin Temple Tianshulang seemed to have thought of something. Monk, don't you know all the names of zanpakuto? Then can you take a look at the name of the zanpakuto in Su Chen's hand? Kirin Temple Tenshiro suddenly remembered that even if Nigaya Wang Yu didn't know, then we still have a monk. Isn't the monk the one who named everything in Soul Society? Nothing in Soul Society had a name until he named it. Even the name Bankai was given by him. Then he should know the name of the knife in Su Chen's hand, right? However, what shocked Kirin Temple Tenshiro and others? Ikibe Hayasube actually said, you made a mistake. The thing in Su Chen's hand is not a knife. What? This time it's not just Kirin Temple Tenshiro. Shutara, Senjumaru and others also changed their colors. Su Chen's knife obviously cut Byakuya Kuchiki, and a large amount of bloodline burst out, but it was not a knife. What was it? Ikibe Hayasube said. That's the Great Spirit Book Corridor. As soon as this statement came out, everyone's expression changed. What? Isn't the Great Spirit Book Corridor a place controlled by the Tsunayashiro family? It is said that that place is not controlled by Shinigami's consciousness and absolutely records all the information of Soul Society. We can't even get in or out of there. After all, it's the place controlled by the Tsunayashiro family. Although Team Zero has created all kinds of history of this Soul Society, it represents the condensation of the history of Soul Society. But in terms of power, the five nobles are still the pinnacle of Soul Society's power. Therefore, even the Zero Squadron is not qualified to enter the Great Spirit Book Corridor controlled by the Tsunayashiro family. Not everyone knows the various secrets in it. He even couldn't help but swallow a gulp of saliva to relieve his tension. Not only Tenshiro of Kirinji Temple, but also several other members of the 210th Division Zero also had terrifying speculations in their minds. Distinguish. When everyone saw Su Chen using Ryujin Jaka, they couldn't help but asked in surprise, how is it possible? How could Su be able to use other people's Shikai abilities? As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. What? Ikibe Hayasube did not explain anything immediately, but asked one of the guards guarding Soul King Palace to play the following content. Ikibe Hayasube explained. The reason why Su Chen is able to use these Bankai is not because of the ability of the Great Soul Book Corridor. The knife, or sword, can be anything. It is just Su Chen's ability. One of the carriers, the person who truly possesses those kinds of Shikai and Bankai abilities, is Su Chen. Except for Ikibe Hayasube, who lived in the same period as the ancestor of the five nobles. Tenshiro of Kirinji Temple couldn't help being shocked when he heard the news. The Tsunayashiro family actually has such a terrifying zanpakuto. When seeing Ryujin Jaka, Kirinji Tenshiro couldn't help but think of an extremely terrifying guess. They all looked at Ikibe Hyasube. Nigea Wang Yu nodded. It is true that the Zanpakuto is extremely dangerous. It has been passed down since ancient times. It was not made by me and is rarely used. The Tsunayashiro family also keeps this trump card secret. Well, people who know Yanluo Jingdian's ability have basically become souls under the sword, so there are only a few people who know Yanling Jingdian, and they know it by chance. If this speculation is true, then Su Chen's strength may far exceed their imagination. Both his Shikai and Bankai exist within himself and have never been taken away by Su Chen. So how did Su Chen use other people's Shikai abilities? This is something far beyond their comprehension. Nameya Wang Yu analyzed. Does the sword in Su Chen's hand have a special ability, just like the Yan Luo Jingdian of the Tsunayashiro family, which can copy other people's Shikai and Bankai? After all, everyone's Shikai and Bankai are unique.